Oh, yes. Oh, yes. Mythos Busters is a fun podcast all about Arkham Horror LCG. It is hosted by a great group of guys who are informative, knowledgeable, and full of personality. They play Arkham Horror inside and out and have a deep understanding of Lovecraft, so they can bring you every aspect of the game and lore to expand your knowledge and playing experience. The show is addictive and I can't get enough of them. I'm a new player and I'm working my way through the game and the backlog. I can't wait to get caught on not only the podcast, but the game as well. Thank you, boys, and keep going. Fucking nailed it.
Mythos Busters, investigating the mystery, monsters, and madness of Arkham Horror, the card game.
Hello, and welcome to episode 95 of Mythos Busters, Addictive Indeed. I'm Sean. Joining me tonight are my fellow Mythos Busters. Oh, it's not tonight. Wow, it's Sunday morning. What am I doing? We're already off the rails. Let's go Ian first. Hey, Ian.
Hello.
How are you?
Oh, a little tired. I actually woke up pretty early. As always, it's earlier for me than for the rest of you. And then I said,
That is how time zones work.
I'll just rest my eyes a little bit on the couch. And I woke up about 2 minutes before recording time. So that's my day so far.
Excellent. Joining us as well is Paul Bear. I mean Scott. Hey, Scott.
Hello.
Well done on that impression.
Thanks.
For those of you who might be wondering at this point, we started a thing, probably a couple of years ago that we haven't mentioned in a good long while. But if you drop us a 5-star review on the podcast venue, I think iPod or Apple, whatever
iTunes.
The Apple platform is. Yeah, iTunes, there we go. Whatever that platform is. And tell us an impression you'd like us to do. We will read it online or on the podcast.
Yes.
It's okay, Sean. You're new to this whole internet thing.
I know, right? I'm new to the whole talking thing too, apparently.
Man, you haven't hosted an episode in like 2 weeks, so who can blame you, right?
It's been like 8 days.
I
Anyway, so that's what that was. So feel free to hit us up on that because we'd love to use those as some more cold opens. And please more WWE characters as well. That was fun.
I was so happy when I figured out who Paul Bearer was because I do remember him from my childhood, but
Yep.
I don't remember his name. Or
Such a strange presence. And then, of course, rounding out the team, we've got the full crew tonight. It's Nick. Hey, Nick.
Hello, it's morning, not night, Sean.
I did it again! What is wrong with me? I swear, normally Friday night recordings are like our super punchy recordings, but Sunday morning just rolled out of bed recordings are kind of hitting a special space, too.
straight from the pulpit.
I mean, I'm recording from bed. I don't know about you guys, but
Oh, that's what I should have done.
Damn, he's unlocked the secrets.
Need to get one of those
We've got...
microphone booms that sits on your headboard and
God, don't tempt me, Frodo. I might do this.
just pull it down when you're recording and put it back up when you're going to sleep.
Well, we've got another action-packed episode for you guys this morning. We're going to do our normal intros, and then we are going to pound through another starter deck review this week. We're doing one Jacqueline Fine. I'm very excited. And then, of course, we'll round it out with some Tentacle time.
Mm-hmm.
But before we get to any of that, a couple things. First, I want to remind any of our listeners here that Mythos Busters Direct is a coupon code that you can use at orbits.com, AURBITS.com. where you can. Sorry, I have no idea why I wanted to do a fun cadence for that. Where you can go out and buy some custom tokens that we had made for FarcomCon. They're awesome. I want to make sure we plug those every time because I've been seeing them out in the wild now on the Facebook page, and it just makes me so happy.
They are beautiful. I'm so happy with how they turned out. And we have to give a props to Pat.
Yes.
Blue HG on the Discord, who helped Sean in our time of need.
No, that is short selling it for sure. He swooped in when Sean was displaying how much his Photoshop skills have lapsed, and absolutely saved the day. So go check those out. And I suppose let's round up a little bit of playtime. Scott, I'm sure you've been busiest, so we'll start with you. What Arkham have you been playing of late?
Let's see. Casey and I have a campaign going in Innsmouth, and we've gotten to the end of the second scenario. I forget the names. I'm really bad with the names until the cycle's done, and until pretty much the Iron Man when I'm planning out, and then I learn the names of all the scenarios.
Is that the disappearance?
Yeah.
Yes, disappearance of Elena.
Yeah, so we're...
Sure, did I spoil it?
No, I think that's the name of it, isn't it?
It's part of the name.
Yeah. Okay. Anyways, super fun scenario. But I also life has we've been setting up to sell our house, and we just sold our house. So it's been a very busy last 2 weeks where my Arkham has been put in a box, in a shelf, in a storage room, because you have to make your house look pretty and everything. So I've been very limited in my playtime.
Yeah, you don't want the people who are viewing the house to be like, ooh, does it come with Arkham?
Yeah. Or you have it out on the table and they take your next turn for you, and you're like, oh, come on.
Damn it.
The ultimate nightmare.
I wasn't going to commit that.
I'm not mad that they took the turn. I'm mad that they did better than I was going to do.
So the Arkham
Wife walks in. What is this? The realtor told me to stage.
That's why I was playing the Carcosa cycle.
I think through the whole process of moving, I had 3 different situations where various movers and other people asked me if I stream because of the equipment.
Yeah. So anyways, that's my Arkham. Very limited. But
boy, that's fun to get outed as a podcaster. That doesn't happen very often. Normally I have to slyly slide that into conversation and then immediately retreat when I realize that no one has any interest in talking about my podcast.
Exactly.
I do a podcast. Oh, what's it about? Never mind.
Yeah.
It's a true crime podcast.
Forget I said anything. All right, Ian, how about you?
As far as... I'm pretty much in the same boat as Scott, which is not having a lot of time to play in a long while because of moving and unpacking. I did finally get my actual physical Arkham back out on the table for the first time in a month and a half because I finally played Into Deep last night. That was bugging me that I hadn't played it yet. So I won't spoil anything, obviously, but I had a lot of fun with that. There is a ton of locations to play with there, and so this is the continuation of my blind campaign with Trish, solo Trish, but I'll say that it's a blind asterisk because I had a problem where my campaign notes for that particular campaign got lost and I couldn't retrieve them, so I had to recreate that quote-unquote blind play. And so it's not, but whatever, it's fine. I know the Arkham police aren't going to knock on my door and take me away if it's not truly a blind campaign.
Oh, what was that? Is that the cops?
No, they're too busy out there rounding up everyone who dares play on easy.
Yeah. We'll get to me eventually. I always think of the vegan police in Scott Pilgrim.
You're under arrest for veganity violation.
Yeah, so Solar
Milk and
Trish
eggs,
is an interesting one because I feel like I'm still getting the hang of it, and I think maybe 50% of that though is the particular challenges of Innsmouth, which aren't 100% kind to her solo playstyle, but I think I'm kind of figuring it out. I'm definitely doing better than I did initially, and the aforementioned Alina Harper, without spoiling too much, she's pretty much an amazing ally for Trish. So, yeah.
Ian, quick hot take with no spoilers of Into Deep. That map looks huge. Mm-hmm. Is it manageable solo?
Yes.
Okay,
yeah.
Cool. I don't want any explanation.
Yep.
That's the thing I was worried about. So
yeah, I mean, when I was setting up, I looked at that. I'm like, is this gonna be one of those scenarios where it's like twice as hard for solo play? But yeah, it's manageable.
Okay,
that's good to know. I still have not gotten a chance to play Into Deep. I imagine I'm gonna pound through both of them when Devil Reef comes out in like a handful of days, because oh god, I always forget. I've been in LCG, the Biosphere, for so long, and I always manage to forget how actually fast it is to have a new scenario every month once the cadence starts.
Yeah, and if you fall behind, then all of a sudden it will start snowballing on you. Because I remember I hadn't played Into Deep yet, and then I got my notice that Devil Reef was coming soon, and that put a fire under me. But Into Deep is definitely quite a bit of setup, though, so leave some time for that for sure.
I have heard that as I've been around the Discord, that is definitely a thing that people are mentioning. So
that's funny, because I was setting up for Casey and I's game, and I just hit place on TTS, and all the things came out.
Oh, yeah. Interesting.
Nick, how about you? What you've been playing?
Well, we just recorded what feels like a week ago. I know it was a little longer than that, but yeah, it wasn't much longer. I haven't played any in that time. As I mentioned last
cool.
time.
So,
I was gonna give a reason. As I mentioned last time, my work schedule has been really crazy lately, and this is Sunday. The week leading up to this Sunday was my last week of having to cover 2 extra people in the office. So I'm hoping to get more Arkham in this week. But yeah, since the last episode, nothing. I also don't have Into Deep yet. I'm still waiting for that to get to my door, so that's fun.
Yeah. That can be a thing. That can definitely be a thing. Not all of us have Justin to just buy you the pack and then pay him back later.
Right. In fact, I think only one of us has Justin to do that.
I can confirm it's a very great system. I get everything roughly on time.
He's like your own personal team covenant.
Basically. But for my part, I know I mentioned last time that my daughter and I had started a Carcosa campaign, so we are continuing that. We just got through Echoes of the Past last night. It's been a good time. Carcosa's still great. It's just that remains such a sweet spot in so many ways for the game, even vanilla Carcosa. So I've really been enjoying that. Duke he's OP. Like he's a pure survivor
campaign,
deck. The only thing that I did is I put in Milan and Leo, and it turns out if you can take both those allies, it's pretty good. It's pretty okay. I'd be interested to see how they do in Trish. But yeah, so anyway, it's been very nice because I don't know if y'all patrons have been noticing, but we have been coming back at Dissonant Voices with a passion.
Oh boy.
And the Carcosa campaign that we've been moving through is like just behind our Carcosa releases. So Ian, I fired up Echoes of the Past because you dropped it Saturday night. No, you dropped it Friday night, and then Saturday we fired it up and actually got to use Dissonant Voices for myself. And it's pretty great. It's pretty great. Not gonna lie. Then the only other thing I've got going on is I have a Silas and Mary campaign going through Innsmouth, and boy, I know it's been said in myriad ways before, but Innsmouth is a little rough on the blind play.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
it's a little on the side of unforgiving.
I think though, yeah, okay, fair. No, continue your point. I'll chime in after.
All I was going to say is
then I'll take the opportunity to interrupt. All right.
I was just going to say I'm glad that I have TFA under my belt and that whole growth experience of the initial play the figuring it out, and now getting to a place where I actually really, really like, the Forgotten Age. The Forgotten Age. Big fan of it now. So I'm not nearly as salty as I would be, I think, had that not happened, because I know that eventually I'll have it figured out.
Yeah.
But got reamed in the first scenario, and then the second scenario, I'm going to do this in non-spoilery as possible. But the big choice you have to make in that second scenario, it came down to what was ultimately a 50-50 shot on both choices. Missed both. And it's like, like, fine if I didn't get it perfect, but let me keep playing. But no, it was done. So now on to In Too Deep, where I'm sure it will also go fairly roughly. But anyway.
At least,
what were you going to say, Scott?
I was going to say, I think it's going to be... the blind play is tougher, but I think even the second play will be much more forgiving. Like, just understanding how the scenario progresses, like, that's all that it takes. Whereas I think TFA, you still needed a couple more plays. Like, the second one didn't go that much better than the first. I think it was, like, the fourth and fifth playing of certain scenarios.
And I think that's with TFA, that's because that introduced two new mechanics that just weren't... they weren't nice to your first couple times, and those were supplies and explore. And I know we don't need to talk about that again, because we talked about that a lot. But both of those rewarded what's called system mastery, and while that feels good on the back end because you're like, oh, I know all this now, I've mastered this system, that doesn't feel good when you're new. Or when you haven't reached that level of mastery yet. Whereas Innsmouth, we've got flood tokens and keys, but neither of those have felt... granted, I've only played the one scenario, but I played it like 4 times. It hasn't felt like I'm like, if only I understood this better. You know what I mean? Like, it just... My problems with Pit of Despair were just, I didn't bring enough guns. Bring more guns.
I mean, my experience of Innsmouth so far is that's kind of its big challenge is the enemy management is more pressing than most other campaigns, especially, and so I think the blind play for me has been adjusting play style mostly, especially because I tend to play a lot of that kind of evade style, and especially solo, and this may be one of the most unfriendly campaigns to that particular style. Not impossible, but unfriendly. So, just trying to figure that out.
System Mastery was the name of my house 16-bit band in high school.
I just want to throw back to, I think that we touched on a point about TFA. Actually, when we were at Arkham Knights, I forget what year, but we sat down and talked to Man from Lang in that video kind of interview thing he did with us. And we talked about how, or at least I thought that, maybe TFA is just the campaign that's really rough and it teaches us something and we're going to learn from it. And I feel like there's lessons that we've learned in TFA that now when I'm going into Innsmouth, there's some really rough parts, but I'm like, meh, sometimes the game is like that, and I'm more okay with it, right? Like, and Nick, you mentioned 2 new things, but I say there was 3 in TFA. You had supplies, explore, and then also you just got used to trauma because it's coming from every direction.
Sure.
And so just that
it takes the sting off it, oddly enough.
Yeah, and so now going into Innsmouth, I'm like, this is rough, but sometimes that happens. And Casey just posted in the chat a link to Stockholm Syndrome. Which, I mean, okay, fair counterpoint. But
It truly is the Dark Souls of Arkham campaigns.
Yeah, all right.
So I feel like it's Innsmouth is feeling less like... The emotional response to Innsmouth is less like TFA because we experienced TFA.
Agreed.
Where like if there's another scenario like a blind Boundary Beyond, I think we'll be less ragey. At least 3 of the 4 of us.
Can you imagine? Wait, who's the 4th? Which
Sean.
one would be ragey? Sean. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah,
all right.
yeah.
Can you imagine if this
Guilty.
game, like if Arkham Horror as a franchise, not as a franchise, but as a game, took the trajectory that we all expected it to take, and Innsmouth was the first campaign to release after the core box. Can you imagine going from Night of the Zealot to the Innsmouth Conspiracy? And can you, like, I probably would have quit the game.
Yeah. That would have sunset the game pretty quick.
Yeah. Well, and even beyond that, just the complexity of narrative has gotten so more robust. I was looking through our Dissonant Voices spread, and we've got a fair few videos out there now. And there's one per product, so like the core set is all one video, and the Innsmouth box is all, well, we don't have the Innsmouth box out there, that's a terrible example. The Carcosa box is all one video.
Pick the one we haven't done yet.
I know. But it's actually very interesting to see, because I think like the entire Night of the Zealot campaign is like a 15-minute video, and the Dream Eaters, the 2 scenarios plus the prologue, that's almost 55 minutes of video.
Wow.
So, yeah. We've come a long way, baby.
Yeah. I'm liking it, though, so.
Yeah.
We should probably save
All
this
right.
for the Innsmouth episode.
Sure.
Should we pivot last minute?
Ian, what patron news have we?
All right, so first off, thanks as always to our board members. That's Chris B, Chris H, Chris M, Morton, Jared, Ian, Kyle, Philip, Dave, Abilio, Nathan, Chad, and Robert. Thanks so much for your incredible support of the podcast. A special shout out to a random patron this time around is to yet another Chris. This is to Chris C. So our conglomeration of patron Chris's continues to grow. Mythosmerch.com. If you have never visited mythosmerch.com, you should. There's lots of wild Mythos merch on there. That's all I got this early in the morning. There's various
more incoming.
Yeah, various Mythos Busters merch up there. If you do wear or use any of our Mythos merch stuff, please send us pictures so we can share it on social. I don't know if there's any tattoo video updates. We're just gonna keep doing that every episode for like the next year, I feel like.
No, but I suppose we can wrap that up into Dissonant Voices, because I can't
Sure.
let myself work on the tattoo stuff before Dissonant Voices is done. Though I was gonna share a picture here last time. I'll actually go get that. So when Dissonant Voices is caught up, then the tattoo pain supercut that's been promised will be forthcoming.
So as Sean mentioned, we have been trucking along, and now that like 2 of the 3 Mythos Busters moves are done, we've been trying to hit hard on the Dissonant Voices again. I can't even keep track of everything we've updated, but I know we have put the Carcosa box up there, Echoes of the Past. What else? A few more of the TCU scenarios. So things are going along, and hopefully that'll be done in the next month or 2. And for those of you who don't know what Dissonant Voices is, we mentioned it earlier, but that's where we're basically recording an audio recording of reading aloud the campaign story text. And finally, our next patron goal is another standalone scenario. And so if and when we get around to having to tackle that particular goal, the production on it won't necessarily start till we get projects like Dissonant Voices done. But I think that's the big outstanding thing is Dissonant Voices. And then eventually Sean will have that tattoo video. And eventually, in some unforeseen future, tattoo shops will actually be open in my area. But I have no idea when that will be, since we just continue plunging more and more into a pandemic instead of out of it. So
I was about to say, the light at the end of that particular tunnel just keeps slipping out of view.
Yeah, it was an oncoming train after all. So.
In the wise words of Metallica, it's just a freight train coming your way.
Hey!
Whenever someone says light at the end of the tunnel, I always think of that song. I just can't not.
And
All right.
That's it.
Perfect. Nick, I think we had a little bit of news. You want to lay that on us?
Yeah, we had exactly 1 news.
Just the one.
Just
It's
the
a
one
new.
news. Yep, just the new. And that is A Light in the Fog, which is the spoiler, the reveal article. It's not really a spoiler when it's official. The reveal article for... Oh my gosh, guys, I don't even know. Which pack is this? Is this...
A Light
It's
in
the
the Fog.
fourth one.
No, I know that it's the fourth one. Okay, thank
Yes.
you. I know the name. I just said the name of it, Scott. Thank you. Thanks for listening to me, Scott.
I usually don't.
I know. Well, I don't blame you. It's mainly talking about the scenario, or the scenario mechanics, which, as always, we're not really going to get into here. We save that for our posthumous episodes where we discuss the scenarios in detail. But we do talk about the player cards. There have been a few that have been shown off. Obviously, there's the card fan in the art, which has a few different ones there, with the Guardian one being featured prominently. And we have two green cards to talk about. We'll start with the green cards, and of course we will start with Ian with Lucky Penny, if you want to read that for us.
I'm so glad, because I love this card. Lucky Penny, with lucky and quotation marks, is a level 2 rogue asset, 2 cost, will and agility icons, item, charm, and cursed traits. Exceptional, so that means it actually costs 4. Forced, when you reveal a bless or curse token during a skill test you are performing, flip a coin. On a heads, treat that token as a bless token. On a tails, treat that token as a curse token. If you treat a bless token as a curse token as a result of this effect, draw 1 card, and it takes up the accessory slot.
So
Is this Pokemon?
is this pack coming,
Pokemon
is this
now.
pack coming with a coin?
It's right.
It should.
Man.
I'm sure it won't, but I'm sure the various bling vendors out there are on it.
I was about to say. Given those peripheral producers, another thing to perif.
Actual hefty metal coin or GTFO?
Yes, I want something solid. Something that does some damage if it hits you.
Yeah.
I do have something to actually use that for that. I have that Copper Draw Lab token. I just bought the one as like a lead investigator token when the game was announced. Little did I know how little we would need a lead investigator token. So yeah, now I've got a use for it. It's pretty sweet.
Yeah, I forgot I have a few Cthulhu coins I could use for this purpose, but yeah,
Not to stop anyone from buying new bling, but
I mean, I'll buy that anyway. But so this is the advent, the introduction of the coin flip mechanic to Arkham Horror. I imagine this will probably be the only time it'll be used, but I think it's fun. I'm just a fan of wonky mechanics in general.
Me
until
too.
survivors get the bad penny.
Ooh, there you go. In terms of power level, like I think this is pretty much you just are playing a playstyle where you're adding curse tokens, and you put in the lucky penny to benefit from those, like potentially benefit.
Yeah, change 50-ish% of them to
right.
pluses.
Like what other? I mean, that's the only kind of playstyle approach I can think of.
I mean, you don't get the card draw, but that seems more like a Band-Aid. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, sorry, have a card.
Yeah.
Like, this doesn't... I wouldn't see this as a replacement for, like, Lucky Cigarette Case or something that is actual reliable card draw in Rogue.
Right.
Yeah.
I think you're right. This is totally just... This is to make your curse play less curseful.
Oh, and Karen's Facebook troll points out, boy, the memeing of names in our Discord, it sets my head a spinning sometimes. But they point out that it's a forced effect, which I feel is important.
Yeah.
It's not a reaction. So yeah,
I think if you're going that
I
hard
guess-
curse play, then yeah, absolutely take it. 50% of the time, it works 100% of the time. So
Yeah.
Now I want to use this in Iron Man just so I can be flipping coin in front of you guys
Fill the
throughout.
bag with curse tokens.
Yeah.
be playing the Harvey Dent custom investigator.
Oh, he would come with his own coin. We
right.
also got Eye of the Jinn, which I think if my order is updated, that would go to Sean.
Sure. Eye of the Jinn is a rogue asset. It's level 2, cost 2, has 2 intellect icons, has item, relic, blessed, and cursed traits.
It's Blursed.
Blursed is also exceptional. And reaction, not forced. When you initiate a skill test during your turn, exhaust Eye of the Jinn. Set your base skill value to 5 for this test. If a blessed token is revealed during this test, ready Eye of the Jinn. Ooh. If a cursed token is revealed during this test, you may take an additional action this turn.
Ooh.
And this, I think most importantly to mention, takes up a hand slot.
Boo.
Oh, it's
That's
so
the
good
worst
until
part.
It's so good until you hit the hand slot part.
Yeah. You mean I gotta hold this thing?
I mean, it has a chain. One would think it could like be hand or accessory.
Yeah.
Generally, these
said,
kind of things seem like they kind of default to accessory slots, so I imagine there's a kind of a mechanical decision there.
What was
You
the card that we previewed, and it had like Rex like kissing a bunch of different
Token of faith.
token of faith.
Token of faith.
So what if like rogues get enough of these like this looks like an accessory, like a trinket, and then you have your lucky coin, and then you have ones
With
that fill
Relic
your
Hunter.
arcane slots and all these things, and you become the
See,
token
and
of faith.
I almost like I see this taking up the hand slot, and I'm like, okay, they did this so that you can use Eye of Jinn and Lucky Penny in the same deck and not have to worry about one kicking out the other, because they're both playing with the Bless and Curse tokens, obviously. So they both want to lean into that archetype. But then I was like, well, wait a minute, Relic Hunter exists. They could both be the accessory slot. And it would then you'd have to just make a conscious. It'd be more of a decision to go all in on this archetype, which you would
You're
be
talking
fine.
about 11 XP at that point.
Right, but you should be. I would think you'd be fine spending the 3 on Relic Hunter if you are going all in on this archetype. I don't know.
Sure.
I guess it's.
And this one also has a necklace on it and takes up your hand slot, but the lucky penny, which you're flipping with your hand, takes up the accessory slot.
I don't like that.
Literally unplayable.
Though I like this in maybe Dexter.
Sure.
Oh, that could be fun.
Yeah, because like
Bounce it out.
well, he can use a lot of arcane slots to make up for like this taking up his hand slot, right? Like in that mystic builds, hand slots are kind of fluid more so. So I don't know. I think I like this in Dexter.
So Scott rules question, which was inspired by Lord Fatboy in chat.
All hail.
All hail.
That's Lord Batboy, thank you very much.
Oh, it is. My apologies, Lord Batboy.
My lord.
How would this interact with Lucky Penny? If you reveal a blessed Turken, blessed Turken, if you reveal
Blessed Turken.
Turkens!
and then you flip the coin, and it turns into a curse token, does this trigger the bless, or does it trigger off the curse? Because you revealed the blessed token.
When you reveal, so when is before? So you would reveal that blessed
No,
token.
when is when? You
When-
also said Turken.
I did Turken. Token. So when is like it's when if after, right? So when is like right before you reveal. Essentially, is the game slightly rewinds to when for a split second. So you'd, from my reading, you would reveal, let's say, a blessed token, and then if you flipped a coin and treated it as a curse, then you would basically for Eye of the Jinn. Oh man, I think it would then become a curse token. Like it's whatever the coin changes it to.
Even though technically the game text of Eye of the Jinn initiates when you start the skill test.
Yes, but it's just putting on a what do you call it? Like a lasting modifier, a lasting effect.
Okay.
Similar to like a lasting effect is similar to Silas and what's the skill card that says no? Where just like Defiance. Where even if you pull it back, it still makes the lasting thing. Oh man, I'm not 100% sure. That's me.
Yeah,
this is me like hip shot.
I mean, either way,
Hip
you're
shot
getting
rules
something.
review.
But it's
Yeah.
just interesting to think if you can. Well, no, Lucky Penny is forced, so if that's out, you have to do it. So it's not like you
Yeah.
can try and set something up. It's just like, all right, let's see what happens. It's now the rogue is the king of nested effects with this particular build. I like it.
Spirit Reacher, who is Charon's Obel advocate and Facebook troll, he does point out that the reveal doesn't get canceled. So
sure,
I think then maybe it's based on which token you actually reveal.
Yeah,
that's where I went.
Pulled out.
Yeah, and then coin flips, you treat it as something different. So I'd probably go with that one actually. So it's whichever one you reveal.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Then you
the physical token itself.
Yes.
Yeah,
and
that
then,
would make sense.
As for Eye of Jinn, and then the coin flip can then change it into the other one. Yeah.
And Sharon's Obel advocate says, doesn't force take place before reaction, but again, the reaction is starting when you start the skill test. We're probably just
not when the token's revealed.
Right.
Yeah, no, the force is starting when you reveal a token, which is step 3, and Eye of Jinn starts when you initiate a skill test, which is like essentially step 0.
Step 1.
Yeah, 0, so whatever. Like it's when you first start. So you start with Eye of Jinn, and then when you get to step 3 of the revealing or chaos or the step of a test, you then trigger. You have to trigger Lucky Penny. Yeah.
I keep looking at the art for Lucky Penny, and I know that it's supposed to be like, we're in this like really weird Eldritch parlor, and there's a game of chance going on. But just the way the angle's set up, it looks like someone's just flipping this over like a magic playmat.
Oh, I see.
Seeing that?
Yeah. That's funny.
Anyway. That's how it's going to be in my head canon.
We also got a fan of cards, one of which we can read entirely. The others we can pretty much get to what they mean. But I'm going to go ahead and take Shield of Faith because that's a blue card, and that's also front and center on this fan. Shield of Faith is a 2 resource costed, level 2 asset. It has 2 will icons, spell and blessed traded, so Mateo can take it. Seal up to 5 blessed tokens. If Shield of Faith has no tokens sealed on it, discard it. But Nick, why would you want to seal blessed tokens? Well, I'll tell you. Reaction: when an enemy attacks an investigator at your location, exhaust Shield of Faith and release a chaos token sealed here. Cancel that attack. It takes up the arcane slot. When you release, and I'm sure this is covered somewhere, but you remember I don't read rules. When you release a blessed token, does it go back to the bag or is it out?
Yep.
It goes
Release
back,
is
to,
back
the
to the bag.
Oh,
because
beautiful.
it's seal and release.
Yeah,
sure.
Like take bless and curse out of it. It's just you put it right back in the bag.
Yeah.
Nice.
The only time a bless or curse token leaves the bag is when you pull it on a test. And
so even if you reveal it as part of like cursed luck or something, it doesn't count.
Correct, or something like what's the guy with the broken fingers? The purple card. I always forget the name. Dark Prophecy.
Dark Prophecy.
Prophecy. You can pull 5 out, and you choose one to resolve. Those other 4 go back in the bag, even if they're all curses and blesses.
Sure. Okay. Interesting. I like this card. I like Shield of Faith. It's fun. It plays into Bless play, which we need more of, especially in Guardian, who has the Bless. I was going to say Avenger, the Bless Investigator.
Or Avenger. Yeah, that's cool.
Or Avenger. Yeah, Captain America, Iron Man, Sister Mary. Yep.
I mean, I wouldn't be surprised by anything as a comic book character, so...
Frasier was in the Fantastic Four, so...
One thing I really like about Shield of Faith is that one of the complaints of some people who are questionable about Bless and Curse tokens is people are saying, well, it's just muddling the math of the bag. But I think we're starting to see a lot of cards that treat them as completely different tokens. Like you fill the bag full of blesses so that you can then seal the blesses or or find blesses or do the right. Like it's more than just a +2 draw another card or -2 draw another token, -2 draw another token. Like I like these interactions where it's you get a bunch in the bag and then you quickly seal a bunch and then So
guys, full stop. Lord Batboy changed his name to Lord Fatboy.
Well struck, my lord.
Okay, continue.
Awesome. This card seems pretty great. Like if you can get the 5, I mean, even if you don't get the full 5 on there, you're still getting value. But imagine having 5, you're canceling 5 enemy attacks.
That's amazing.
and the fact that it can be applied to other investigators at your location, it seems pretty big game to me. And this is yet another boost for Mateo. Thankfully, he can take this one, and I think he would take this one in multiplayer probably.
Oh, totally.
Can you imagine?
That arcane slot's going to give certain investigators pause.
Yeah.
But it's,
Well, especially Mateo, but
yeah.
but in Guardian, I don't think so. Not as much.
No.
Can you imagine having 5 of these, like 5 blessed tokens, and then near the end of the game in solo or something, you have to do like 3 or 4 actions that take attacks of opportunity to finish the game, and you just cancel them all?
I mean, if this didn't
It does exhaust to
yeah, if this
cancel the
didn't
attack.
exhaust, that would be that's
forgot
to
about
me
Kill
is
the
the one
magic.
downside. Yep, is the exhaust.
RTFC
Yeah.
slot.
Given that it exhausts, I don't know that you're ever going to put more than 3 tokens on this bad boy. Because if you could just be like, all right, I've got an enemy engaged with me, but I'm just going to take my turn anyway and just soldier through it, that would be a hell of a thing. But the exhaust weakens this a bit.
I don't know. I feel like if you have the opportunity to put 5 on, you just do, and then you know for the rest of the game, like, you're pretty good for 1 attack a turn.
Yeah.
Yeah, maybe.
I don't know.
Just imagine this thing in Black Throne and canceling Azathoth attacks, like, because it's not limited to non-elites.
non-elite.
Any enemy, yeah, that would be huge.
Sorry, Azathoth. God says no.
Excellent.
Do we want to parse what these other cards are?
I think we can.
Sean, one of them's purple.
One of them is purple, and it's just an upgrade of one we've seen before, so I don't know if we want to spend much time on that. I want to look at the one that has Calvin on it, personally.
All right. Well, Spirit of Humanity is a 2-cost survivor asset, level 2, has a willpower icon. It is ritual, blessed, and cursed traded, so Mateo can take it. It's Blursed. Okay, I think I can parse the first paragraph easily. So, fast reaction trigger, lightning bolt, electrocution window. Exhaust Spirit of Humanity and take
Zappy boy.
something and 1 horror. So I'm going to assume 1 damage and 1 horror.
Probably. Yeah.
Add 2 blessed tokens to the chaos bag. And then the second one, which is a little more covered up, fast reaction, exhaust Spirit of Humanity and add something tokens to the chaos bag. Heal 1 damage and probably 1 horror.
Yeah.
So we can probably surmise that it's add 2 curse tokens to the chaos.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think that's a pretty safe bet. And I'm also going to guess, since this is ritual traded, that it probably takes up an arcane slot.
Oh, yeah. I bet
Could
it
be,
does.
yeah.
Oh, maybe.
Have we
tossing
seen
that
any
out there.
Survivor arcane slots yet?
God, I don't know that we have.
I don't think so.
We've seen a few spells, but not assets.
Right.
Yeah, off the top of my head, I cannot think of one.
Also, aside, whenever I hear the word humanity, I always hear it in the elusive man's voice from Mass Effect 2, just because Charlie Sheen has such Martin Sheen has such a Martin Sheen has such a distinctive way.
So
of
that would be a
pronouncing
different performance.
Winning.
humanity. Yeah. Anyway.
That he is 50% of the reason why that game is the best of the Mass Effect series. And
He's very good. I
will
like
fight
in
anyone.
It's not technical time, boys.
my head. No, okay, bring it back around. In my head canon, whenever we play TCU and Carl Sanford is involved, Carl Sanford is just Arkham's elusive man to me.
Sure. I like the elusive man more than I like Carl Sanford.
Well, you might like him more now that you know he's elusive man.
Nah.
You just have to get to
So,
know him.
Spirit of Humanity.
Humanity.
Talk about a Calvin card. This is...
Yeah.
Yeah.
100%.
Oh, man. It's like just that on-demand damage and horror at the beginning of a game, and you get blessed tokens on top
Yeah.
of it.
Holy
And then
crap.
being able to heal later if you're in trouble, and it's like, yeah, curse tokens, whatever, but...
What a wonderful throttle to be able to goose in a
Yes.
Calvin deck.
Well, and
Just
not to mention when you're healing, it's probably late game, and you're probably so high up, your stats are probably 5 or 6, so a curse token is not that bad. Like it's...
Yeah.
Wow. What?
I think it's finally time for me to play Calvin. He's one that I've set aside and been like, you know what? When his card pool's better, I'll finally give him a go. But he's got to be there now.
I think so. I haven't played him since he came out. I liked him back then. I just didn't like him in campaign play.
Yeah.
He's been good already, but this is like, especially in solo. My experience so far, like Calvin multiplayer is really strong already, but I think this obviously improves multiplayer too, but especially solo, just letting you control that tempo more is going to be huge.
And if this takes up the arcane slot, like nothing's competing for that.
Yeah, who cares?
Right? It might as well be no slot. So, yeah. Well, in Calvin at least. So.
Wonderful. Does that wrap up the news?
Yeah, that's all that... I believe that's all we had since last episode.
Wonderful. Scott, any rules follow-ups from the last 6 times we've said we don't know how this works?
Let's just pretend that we'll continue as if there's no rules.
Solid. So then, that moves us on to our main Tupac, which our show notes say is to review the Jacqueline Habamuk deck. But let's go with Jacqueline Fine instead.
I might be shipping them.
Oh, wow. I'm sad I know what that means.
That's a term from like 2008.
Yeah, it's a very specific internet term, though.
I suppose.
Anyway, Jacqueline Fine is the psychic. She is our mystic investigator. She's got 5 willpower, 3 intellect, 2 combat, and 2 agility. She is clairvoyant traded. Reaction: when an investigator at your location would reveal any number of chaos tokens, reveal 2 additional tokens. Of the revealed tokens, choose and cancel 2 non-tentacle tokens or 1 tentacle token. That ability is limit once per round. Her Elder Sign effect is +1, and if this effect is canceled or ignored, draw a card. And she has 6 health and 9 sanity. And then, of course, her deck building options are the standard starter deck rules. She's just got 0 to 5 Mystic, 0 to 5 Neutral.
Yeah.
5
willpower.
5 willpower. Scott, let's get through her signatures, too. Scott, you want to do Arbiter of Fates?
Yeah, for sure. So, Arbiter of Fates, oh god, it's not coming up. There we go. Is a 3-cost Mystic asset, because all the starter decks are traded the same, or same color. Anyways, willpower, agility, and wild icon. It's talent traded. Jacqueline Fine deck only. And reaction: when you use Jacqueline Fine's reaction ability, exhaust Arbiter of Fates. This use of her ability does not count towards its limit.
Okay.
And then I think, Ian, Dark Future?
Okay. Dark Future is a weakness, omen, and end times traded. I love the end times trade. Revelation: put Dark Future into play in your threat area. You cannot cancel or ignore any of the special tokens, basically. Forced...
Except for Bless and Curse.
Except for those special ones. The OG special tokens, I'll say.
Yeah.
Forced: at the end of your turn, reveal 5 random tokens from the Chaos Bag. If an Elder Sign symbol is revealed, discard Dark Future. Wow. Fun fact, I have not played Jacqueline Fine extensively, but every time this has come out, I've gotten rid of it the first try.
Ooh.
Well, that's...
Well, aren't you special?
Yeah.
If you're playing Jacqueline Fine in the bag sifting way, I assume that when you go to draw these 5, you can probably draw like 9 or 10 or more and probably finish it off the first time, if need be.
Yeah.
Like you use her ability and, I don't know, Olive McBride and, yeah.
Or Dark Prophecy.
Yeah, like, or all of them together, right? And just like, okay, I just reveal the
Just
entire
empty out the
chaos
bag.
Yeah, just
unless
Just
you're
turn
playing,
it upside down and pour it on the table.
Unless you're playing with Eye of Jinn, Lucky Penny Rogue, who has filled the bag with 10 curse tokens, and then you just keep pulling those.
or
fun.
or someone's taken the crystalline elder sign and sealed the elder sign.
Damn it, Mateo! I don't know why I picked Mateo, but...
I mean, Jacqueline could take it.
Oh, yeah. She
Seal
sure...
it.
Oh, that would be rough.
I mean, then you're just This is a bad idea.
Then why are you playing?
Yeah.
You're bad at Arkham.
And then Nick, since we're going to be talking about Jackie in her starter deck form throughout this conversation,
sure.
you want to round us out with Nihilism?
Sure. Nihilism is a new basic weakness. Madness traded. Revelation, put Nihilism into play in your threat area. Forced, after you reveal, cancel, or ignore an autofail token. Take 1 damage and 1 horror. Double action, discard Nihilism. Alright.
This one is like... This is one of the easiest ones. If you're not Jacqueline, and this is in your basic weakness pool, and you draw this, you're like, okay.
Okay.
Cool.
Guess that's staying out for the rest of the game.
I might take 1 damage and 1 horror like once
Yeah.
or twice.
Or if I'm playing Hotel and I'm playing Skids, I will take 4 damage and 4 horror.
Yeah, well, you know.
In one
on top
turn.
of the 8 that you already took.
Yeah.
So Jackie. I think out of the core set we saw things like a Grotesque Statue, and we're like, okay, cool. Mystics are going to play with Chaos Bag tokens and manipulating the probability that they're in. It's taken a good long while for that to get fleshed out. We saw a little bit more play with Seal. I think, things like Dark Prophecy and Counterspell and Defiance and Olive. Like the archetype has been getting more and more fleshed out, but now suddenly it's got a vessel where you don't even have to have any of those cards out, and suddenly all of your chaos manipulation stuff just works because damn, that is a good ability. And I also love that MJ was like, yeah, you know what, that ability is so elemental as is. Her signature is literally just you use her ability again.
Yeah.
I mean, maybe a little bit on the boring side, but I don't care because that's what you want when you build for Jackie. You want to be able to proc that ability at key moments as many times as you can.
Yeah, she is once per round, which is... That seems almost too restrictive, but I guess that opens the door then for that signature.
And the fact that she can pass her ability off to anyone at your location really matters too.
Yeah, that's true.
I think that she also... How do I put this? I don't want to say she scales poorly because you have more investigators to choose on which to use your ability. But now it's like instead of in a solo game, like 2 or 3 tests per turn that you can choose around. Now there's like 10 or 12 or 14 tests.
Like butter spread over too much bread.
Yeah, right? And so I think Arbiter of Fates like is necessary in 4-player, but it's also really good in single player because you just know that pretty much like 80 to 90% of the tests you're taking, you can probably use her ability. And the ones you're not using are ones that you're like, I'm 4 up. I don't need to worry about it.
Right.
Yeah.
So
I think one of the interesting things with the limit once per round, which plays in, like, I have a lot of fun playing Jacqueline Fine. She's one of my favorite mystics, because just that decision of when to use it, like, because you can use it during, like, say, a Mythos encounter card test, and then sometimes you're stuck in that position, like, is it worth using it now, or should I save it for my actual turn? And the same thing even within your turn, like, which test are you going to use it against? Sometimes it's obvious, but a lot of times it's not, and so figuring out how to make the best use of it is kind of a little mini game when you're playing Jacqueline.
Yeah, it sure is. I'm sure we're going to talk about it as we introduce more and more tools for this particular kit. But if you suffer from analysis paralysis or decision fatigue, Jackie's going to be a rough go for you.
It's also cool because she can trigger on any reveal of chaos tokens, not just skill tests. So if there's some harsh scenario card that forces you to like who is it? The Baleful Reveler comes to mind from Carnival, who is at the end of the enemy phase reveal, or after he moves or whatever, you reveal a token. So it's not as impactful to use it at those times.
Or the Hunting Horror.
Yeah, or the Hunting Horror, which is a markedly less scary enemy than the Baleful Reveler, at least at first blush.
True.
But it's arguably you wouldn't use the ability for that, but then if you find yourself in a situation where that could end your game, you could. Like, you have the option to at least save it for that, which I think is really cool.
one thing I find too with Jacqueline is even if you aren't going, I'm going to call it the augury build, because like all the cards that seem to, or a lot of them that deal with the chaos bag and manipulation, have the augury trait. But if you just completely ignore that part of the game, and her ability is just a nice to have, and you're not building around it, she's also, with that 5 willpower, just a really good, like, solid foundation to build a Mystic deck on, right? And so when you do have
you don't need to supplement her ability, it just works.
Yeah, right? And so that's just an awesome, especially with this being a starter investigator, this is a perfect perfect rock upon which to build your house. You know, like when you have a new player, they want to really stretch out, they can say, okay, I'm not going with the pre-built one after playing, to learn the game. And she's a perfect one to just build on. So I like how she can kind of be build agnostic in that way.
Yeah.
So,
Big Kahuna in chat says that she works really well with the Oozling.
Yes, she does.
So definitely bring Jacqueline when you play Blob that ate everything.
Did I ever tell you guys about when the Oozling devoured my Agnes?
no.
No.
No, well, that's the story.
I was gonna say, I think I can figure out what happened, though.
Cool story, bro.
I had only used him twice in that scenario, so I thought I was safe, but I was not.
Nope.
Yeah.
Oozling
Love
bad.
that card. All right. The other thing I want to talk about is, Scott, like you were saying, her stat spread. I also really like the 3 base intellect. I don't like it nearly as much as Gloria's 4, let's be fair.
Yeah.
But 3 is workable if, you're playing solo and you don't want to, take Clairvoyance or Rite of Seeking for your main clue gathering. You can work with 3 and, throw in, St. Hubert's Key or Alyssa or whatever you're going to supplement it with to get it to a workable space. So.
Or perception. Completely fine, right?
Completely workable.
Especially solo, like a perception is basically get a clue. At 3 intellect going to 5, and also her ability.
Yeah.
You're probably getting a clue in a card.
Yeah.
Yep.
That's the thing, the times I have had to use her off willpower stats, even the combat in agility, obviously you don't want to do that too much, but her ability is a boost to any of those situations, because I found myself passing an evade even though she has 2 agility, because that her ability can help you kind of counter whatever bad tokens would have made you fail.
Yeah. All right. So let's move it on then to a Scrying Mirror, which is a level 0 mystic asset. It is 3 cost. It has an intellect icon. It is item and charm traded. It uses 4 secrets. And reaction after a skill test at your location begins, exhaust Scrying Mirror and spend a secret. Perform the Reveal Chaos token step to the test now before committing cards instead of after committing cards. And this takes up a hand slot.
Don't play this in a Bless and Curse.
Yeah. It will tell you nothing.
Yeah. I'm getting +2 to the tentacle. Okay.
As someone who was on the early bandwagon for premonition and remains firmly on it, this is kind of like a light premonition on a stick. It's not quite as flexible, but the ability to know exactly how hard you need to commit, you can't understate how many resources this can save you.
It's a strong power.
Yeah, and particularly if there's a really important test that you want to set up, then to use Jacqueline's ability in conjunction with this, you're probably going to succeed that test.
Yeah.
And that's very, very good.
I think even though it is a slightly worse premonition, it's also 4 of them.
Yep.
Yeah.
So, yeah. And it does exhaust, but honestly, if you have 2 Scrying Mirrors out and your spell slots are set up, my god.
You are vain.
Yeah.
I remember years ago, there was someone posting on Board Game Geek who was like, I don't understand why I have to commit cards before I reveal the token. That seems like the dumbest thing in the world. And everyone was like, well, no, the game's too easy if you do it that way. And he's like, I still lose. Well, it's like that guy was playing with a permanent Scrying Mirror. This is... I didn't really have a point for that story. It just made me think of it. And I wanted to point at that random Board Game Geek guy and be like, look at this guy.
Belding, shame.
Yeah.
Shame.
Yeah, this is a super powerful ability. The nice thing is it's 3 costs is reasonable, I think, and like if it was 4, it's a more of a barrier. And the hand slot again still isn't a huge deal for Mystics. Competes with a few things, but not a ton. So overall, I think it's kind of a good choice for a lot of builds, and it's one of those cards that's tough because you are putting it down and kind of sacrificing your kind of short-term actions, what you're doing now, but it's going to pay off in the long run because, like Scott mentioned, it's saving you a lot of cards that you might have committed for not, and kind of lost ground that way.
And I do also like that this is kind of another card where if you're playing with a bunch of token manipulation, it definitely gets better and compounds that power.
Yeah.
But this is perfectly playable by itself. You don't have to be running the whole suite, and this will still do work. As like I ran this in Patrice for Iron Man, and no regrets.
Yep.
Well, I think too, if you're doing that augury style, premonition, you're just revealing it. You're just taking a token out. Whereas this one, you perform the reveal chaos token step of the test now. So you do all the revealing tricks and all those things before you.
Yeah.
Like if you were going to play Dark Prophecy, you would do it here.
Yes. And Jacqueline's
commit.
ability and all that.
Yeah.
Whereas premonition just kind of happens.
Because
And
it's
then,
a seal, yeah.
yeah.
Could you do Jacqueline's ability when you do premonition?
Yes, you can.
Yeah.
And but you can't, like, I don't think you can do it with Dark Prophecy. Isn't Dark Prophecy...
I don't think Dark Prophecy specifies during a skill test, does it?
No, I think that's a when you reveal as well. I don't know. Let's check.
No, we have
Dark
a bot
Prophecy.
that does this for us.
Play when you would reveal a chaos token. Reveal 5 instead of 1. Yeah, so you could Dark Prophecy premonition as well. Wow, why didn't I ever think of that? Premonition is my auto include for Mystic decks.
But then you'd seal all 5 or place them on premonition, and then resolve the token shield here. So you'd resolve all 5. That's what
why.
happens.
That would be
how
why.
that works.
That's why you don't do that.
Oh, Scott,
Yeah.
new Griefina build.
Oh yes.
Oh shit!
Hang on, let me premonition that. Let me Dark Prophecy.
Oh my god, I can't believe that's how that works.
Oh, look, we got 4 curse tokens and the tentacle. Great.
Oh yeah.
I'm becoming slowly more and more convinced that just purely understanding the rules and how the structure works in Arkham Horror is itself a form of witchcraft.
Yeah.
Divining. Yeah.
Yes.
All right.
All right. Moving on, Scott.
Yeah.
Flame us, baby.
I will take Azure Drake. I mean, Flame. Sorry, too much. So Azure Flame is a level 0, 3-cost mystic asset, has a combat icon, spell traded, uses 4 charges. Wow, this is like getting some deja vu here. Action, spend 1 charge, fight, you use willpower instead of combat, and deal +1 damage. If an Elder Sign +1 or 0 tokens revealed during this attack, take 1 damage, takes up the arcane slot. So, shriveling but different.
Yeah. Well, this one, like, you really want that high willpower build so that you can pull a -2, -3, or whatever, and be just. I mean, obviously you want that no matter what, but I think this begs it more than shriveling does.
This is the Whopper to Shriveling's Big Mac.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I think, like, one thing I noticed, too, is, like, if you're playing on hard, there's hard or expert, there's less +1s and 0s in the bag. So if you're going to put Shriveling in, you might as well just put Azure Flame in, because it doesn't matter in that case, right? Unless you have a really, like, someone like Luke where you have 5 health. You might want Shriveling as opposed, like, so you have to look at the damage aspect and then look at the bag aspect. But it's just a nice second Shriveling for the most part.
Yeah, because I think I think when I first looked at this, I was like, "Oh, this is just kind of a better shriveling because, like, I feel like I hit upon the negative tokens more often, and so and versus like Elder Sign +1 and 0." But in actual practice, these tend to come up a lot, especially when I'm using Azure Flame. And
It does have a way of summoning them, doesn't it?
I have gotten in trouble with some of those low health mystics, like taking on too much damage from this thing. So it's worth thinking about. Like, yeah, it's another shriveling. For that reason, I wouldn't say it's strictly better. It's just, it's just rounding out that damage kind of sweet, so that you don't have to worry about, like, in the dark early days of the game when it's like, okay, I'm out of shrivelings, what do I do now? Or did I draw my shriveling?
Baby.
Both shrivelings are in my bottom 10 cards, so I guess I lose now.
Yeah.
Scott and I talked about this around the water cooler before we got started, and I do feel like this, and we kind of already hit on this, but I do feel like this is more of a build-around card for Mystics than Shriveling is. Primarily because of the damage thing, and also just, like, this is more like, if you're going token filtering, then this is great, because this only triggers off, or this triggers off of 3 different tokens, whereas Shriveling triggers off of, what, just Skull and Autofail, right?
Nope.
All
Shriveling does
symbols.
all bad symbols.
Oh, never mind then. There's a reason why I play Guardian. Fuck this token crap.
And actually, Network in our patron channel mentioned that it'd be a good idea for us to kind of talk about the different mystic spells and kind of what kits look like nowadays. And I really want to do that at some point in the future, because I think it's actually, between this and some of the more recent releases we've gotten, I think it's actually there's far more choices to make now than there ever used to be before.
Yeah.
It used to be, oh, does this let me use my willpower? I guess I take it then.
Right.
And now it's a much more nuanced question to answer. But yeah, so we'll save the real deep dive for that. Let's move on to Clairvoyance. Ian.
Okay, Clairvoyance is a 4-cost level 0 mystic asset, intellect icon, spell trait, uses 3 charges, action, spend 1 charge, investigate using willpower instead of intellect. If you succeed, discover 1 additional clue at this location. If an Elder Sign +1 or 0 token is revealed during this investigation, take 1 horror. As opposed to the one we just talked about, where we said it was kind of a wash, Clairvoyance is strictly better than Rite of Seeking.
Yes, 100%.
Like,
yes,
1 horror
100%.
versus losing all your actions.
You're down a charge, but who cares?
Yeah.
You don't have to do all that maneuvering of, like, okay, how do I spend my first 2 actions?
Yeah.
And then position, and I'd love me some Rite of Seeking, and it probably will see play in like a hard Clover Mystic.
Yep.
But yes, I agree categorically. This is just generally better.
But like in this case, Rite of Seeking is copy 3 and 4 of Clairvoyance.
Yes. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Hard agree. God, what else do you say?
Great talk.
It's it's good. Play it.
Nick, we're on to you for Ineffable Truth.
Ineffable Truth is a level 0 mystic asset. It costs 3 resources, has an agility icon. It is spell traded, uses 3 charges. Action, spend 1 charge. Evade. This evasion attempt uses will instead of agility. If you succeed, deal 1 damage to the evaded enemy. If an Elder Sign +1 or 0 token is revealed during this evasion attempt, lose 1 resource. It takes up the arcane slot. Sure. Why not? I forget what Mists did. Did Mists do
You
a
get to
horror
move.
to you?
Mist gives you a free move.
Yeah.
But is there a downside to Mist?
If you draw a symbol token, you discard a card from your hand.
Okay. So, arguably...
But it is choose and not random, which matters.
Yeah.
Right. Arguably a better benefit from Mist with the move, because if you're evading, you're probably not worried about putting damage on it immediately.
Sure.
But Ineffable Truth has a weaker downside, losing a resource. Okay. Like,
Yeah.
I tend to feel, especially Mystic, that losing a resource is not as harmful as losing a card from hand. Especially because I tend to run
I'd argue
event.
that in pretty much any investigator.
Sure, yeah. Well, Mystic especially, because I tend to run pretty event heavy for Mystic. So,
But you also need resources to play all those events and Mystic.
That's true too. That's true
Yeah.
too.
I know what you're saying though. Like this is just
yeah.
a different Mists, right? Like it's
Yes.
it's doing two different things. I think.
And I think the comparison of the evade spells is far more interesting than comparing the damage or the investigation spells, just because they are so different.
Yeah.
Ineffable Truth is interesting because it's doing damage and evading, which, Nick, like you mentioned, is not a thing. It's not a combo that you generally put together.
Right.
Mist is really good because it lets you move away. Shroud. Ooh, what does Shroud do? I haven't played it yet. Literally, we're just looking at it.
I don't even
Yeah.
know
Anyway,
if I have that one yet.
We'll get back there when we have the giant spell discussion. But I think where Ineffable Truth sits is if it's an enemy that you're going to have to deal with eventually, being able to just avoid it for a little bit but still get some damage on it is pretty good. Or if you're putting this in to deactivate, retaliate, or some when ready ability on a big enemy that you are already fighting. I think this is really good.
Yeah. Yeah, this is great to set up like when if there's a retaliate enemy that you have to get through. This is a good tool to work towards that.
Big Kahuna also raises that
boss type,
this
maybe.
Mists has 4 charges. This has 3.
Right, what also costs 4 resources, doesn't it?
Nope, 2.
2.
It's 2? Mists Aurelia's 2 resources?
Yeah, Miss is a great card, man.
Yeah,
Holy crap!
I think Mists wins out on this, quite honestly.
I think it does too.
I think in most cases I agree.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think it'd be kind of those multiplayer, like, you're kind of using your Mystic a little bit as kind of the evade character and then letting others pile on. I don't know.
Mm-hmm.
Definitely a 2-player card, I think.
Yeah, Miss, especially in like solo and lower player counts, is probably going to win out. Is this art? She's in mid Thanos snap, or
Yeah, I was gonna say I love the art that she's getting snapped.
yeah, that was the truth.
Perfectly balanced, as all things are. So then we'll move on to Familiar Spirit. Winged Kitty Cat is a mystic asset, level 0. It has a willpower icon. It has ally, creature, and summon traits. You have 1 additional arcane slot, which can only be used to hold a spell asset. It has 1 health, 1 sanity, and takes up the arcane slot. So yeah, I like in a spell heavy Mystic deck, I feel like Mystic doesn't have like a ton of really juicy allies. If you're just playing general Mystic, I use my willpower for things. Like Renfield's really good if you want to pay for things, but beyond that, you got your initiative to go grab spells, or I guess all of to juke around with tokens. But honestly, if you're playing like Akachi or someone who's really just leaning hard into the spell assets, I think Familiar Spirit is a super efficient little grab.
Do you like it better than Sign Magic?
It's not as hard on your economy as Sign Magic is. I think.
Sure.
I think what that really depends on is whether there's something. Whether it's the opportunity cost, right? If there is another ally that you'd really rather have, then Sign Magic's better. Or if you have your hand slots full because you're doing Grotesque Statue and Candles or something like that, then this looks better.
It's just like the ally slot to me, that's such a big ask, just in general.
I agree, Nick, but I also know that there's been times I've been building a Mystic deck, and I'm like, man, who do I use as my ally? And I was like,
And no one jumps out at you.
I guess Renfield, because...
But that's the thing, like, I think the Mystic allies are so... Like, I think you could use, other than maybe, like, Alyssa Graham, like, Olive is a great choice in almost any Mystic. Renfield is a great choice in almost any Mystic. Is that it? No, there's got to be more.
But I think the point is, if you're specifically looking for something that's you're going to have a lot of like, you're going to use all your arcane slots and really lean on them, more so than a Mystic that's kind of using all their slots and all their cards for different things. Do you know what I mean? Like, if you want a lot of arcane things out, then maybe, or arcane, oh my god, arcane slot things, maybe you have Familiar Spirit and a sign magic out, and you just have this like huge tableau of of arcane slots, right? Especially if you're using like Wither and Sixth Sense and the ones that never go away, and then you also
Offhand
want something,
spells.
also something that you want like mists, and So
I mean, I can understand. I see and understand the argument, but to me, just like how I build decks and what I value in my setup, this seems like a much bigger ask than sign magic to me. So
It's tough. Like, I do agree, like, the ally slot is one of the most valuable, if not the valuable slots in the game, but my unscientific experience is I've included both sign magic and familiar spirit in decks, and one has seen play and one hasn't, and familiar spirit has actually seen play for me, and I think it really just comes down to that 1 cost versus 3 cost is huge.
that's very fair. Yeah. Although, God,
and it has
sign
the
magic
last
is
ditch.
fast.
Yeah, but familiar spirit also, it does have a bit of soak, which near the end of the game, when maybe you've exhausted, your shrivelings or your azure flames or whatever, you can tank a hit
Now,
as well.
don't get me wrong, I don't play sign magic either. I just don't play either of these. I play the mystic
I just deal
as
with the
God
arcane
intended.
slots I'm given.
Yeah.
Back in my day, we only had
I'm an
2
old
arcane
school
slots.
mystic player, yeah. So
Yeah, I mean, no argument that the biggest cost on this card is that ally slot.
Yes.
But I think there are many mystic builds where there's just not an ally that jumps out at you as I need this in the deck. Like Scott said, it's just like, I guess I'll take Renfield because Renfield just fucking works.
Yeah.
Where this might look better.
however, when Ikiak sees actual release, I think Familiar Spirit. I think that she's going to be more of a universal mystic. Although I say that, but again, I haven't actually bought Ikiak in a long time. So
I always
But
forget
you're
she
talking about-
exists because
I'm
I'm
just
deck
whistling
building on
Dixie
Arkham
over
DB.
But you are talking about level 0 versus leveled up, which is a different discussion.
totally.
If we're talking, if we're talking including leveled up allies, then the mystic spread gets a lot more crowded.
I think Shriveling
and
3 is better than Shriveling 0.
All right.
No, that's the same card. All right. Northern Lights over Arkham says that charisma also exists. Yes, get double charisma and have 2 familiar spirits
There
out
you go.
and 2 sign magics, and then you can get your Renfield or whatever. Perfect.
Yeah.
6 arcane slots.
Doctor
arcane
Strange
slots,
Shiva
baby.
build.
Yep.
And then
All those arms.
Have your rig ready to go just in time to doom out.
Exactly.
what's
this
All
turn,
those play actions.
Isn't there a spell that gives you another hand slot or something?
Sign magic?
no. The reverse of sign magic.
Yeah.
The inverse of it. Magic
I
sign.
don't think so. Thanks, Nick.
Kijam.
All right. One might have guessed where this conversation was going, and if you were right, you might have drawn a card. Scott, you want to read Crystal Pendulum?
Sure do. Crystal Pendulum. 2 cost, level 0, mystic asset.
The
Willpower
crystalline
icon.
dangler, if you prefer.
The dangler.
I don't like that at all.
1 willpower icon. Item and charm traded. You get +1 willpower. And reaction after a skill test at your location begins. Exhaust Crystal Pendulum. Name a number. If this test succeeds by that number or fails by that number, draw 1 card. Take up the arcane or the accessory slot.
This is responsible for 75% of the brain burn I experienced with Jacqueline.
See, I just tend to shoot from the hip and just name a number randomly. That saves a lot of brain burn.
I think if you
True rogue.
I've heard that like one of the best ones to do like on standard, if you're doing the bag math and kind of going like 2 up ish, maybe 3 up, is you just name 1 all the time. Because succeeding by 1, failing by 1 is a quick way to possibly draw a card.
Like drastically simplifying the odds. That's going to be probably.
If you just don't want to do the math, test to test, just name 1.
Mystic doesn't have any other card draw in the accessory slot, do they?
Except for Agnes's.
Well,
yeah.
No, the jewel of nipple.
Areolus.
That's the one.
Yeah.
But that's a leveled up card.
It is.
Correct.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. No, I like this. I like it. I mean, it's a +1 will, which is great. So it's automatically like just that alone. You're comparing this to Holy Rosary. They have the same cost, same will boost. The Rosary is nice because it gives you the soak, but this is nice because it if you're playing into that token filtering and all that, you're going to be better set to get the card draw out of it.
In Agnes, I'd probably still take the Holy Rosary.
Oh, totally.
Because if I'm going to play Shriveling, but maybe you don't need the Horror Soak. Maybe you're playing Luke, and you're not going to use his. You just play Shriveling and use this as the accessory because you might draw some more cards, and you're not going to need the Horror Soak. So, I think.
So then the question comes up, since I think the comparison to Rosary is probably the biggest one to make, because if you're looking at this card, Rosary is one that's like completely adjacent to it. Do you take this if you don't really have much else by way of token filtering? Is it still worth it if you can just maybe draw 3 cards off it during the game by shooting from the hip?
So. I think you're paying 2 for the willpower boost, and then
because you still have the will. Yeah,
that's fair.
Like this compared to Holy Rosary, like I'm gonna go with the willpower icon or the willpower boost is like 1.5 resources worth, and then the soak or this ability is like the other half of that second.
Sure,
resource. You know what I mean?
I would love to pay half a resource to get 2 horror soak. That would be amazing.
The majority of the cost is
I understand
in the skill boost, and then like a little bit is the ability, whatever that is.
I really wish this thing exhausted only when you drew a card.
Yeah. But then it might be too good at level
probably.
0.
You can make it 3 resources.
Maybe.
Or 4. Anyway.
Yeah, but then with like Recall the Future, you'd just be like every test. That's 2.
True. That's true.
Yeah, Cultist. Nah. Yeah, it would be a thing.
It's too bad Justin isn't here to read this card. Because Iron Man... Well, you as well, but...
Yeah, he had more spells than I did.
Yeah.
But we are on to Ian.
Robes of Endless Night is a 3-cost mystic asset, agility icon, item and clothing traits. Reaction: when you play a spell card, exhaust Robes of Endless Night, reduce the cost of that card by 1, and it does have 2 health and takes up the body slot. The ever valuable body slot.
A mystic?
There's just a lot to like here. It's helping your resource situation. The damage soak is important in Mystic too.
If you play 4 spell cards, it's then better than Leather Coat. So
that's all it takes.
Yeah,
that's all it takes, guys.
Which you
Count
should
those
be
clicks.
in Mystic. You should be blowing that away, but
So we're going to get to it later. I love level 2. Level 0 does not always make it in for me. I think you have to be playing a very specific critical mass of assets and event spells, and then level 0 will eventually actually become valuable.
So
but it does not go in every Mystic deck for me.
So what? Okay,
it makes.
What's the critical mass of spells then?
It's more so.
what?
I think that it's playing the cards does not provoke attacks of opportunity.
Well, that's
Oh, sure.
I think going from 2 to 3 cost is actually a lot for an econ card, because with an econ card, like you generally want it to be able to like get you going if you're low, because if you've started the game out, you've just hard cast a Shriveling and an ally or something, like you're generally going to be starting pretty low. Then you draw into this, it's like, okay, great, now I've got it. The other version is, say you draw this in your opening hand, it's costing you 3 of your 5 resources to get this down, and then it's only reducing the next card by 1. Like going 2 to 3 is a giant tempo hit, in my opinion.
That's true.
But if you do have a decent amount of skills or spells in your deck, and you get this somewhat early game and you've already set up and are operational, then it's a perfectly serviceable card.
Yeah, that's one of the big things for me is the timing. Like, it's one of those cards that you're going to want out in the first couple of turns, and if not, you're probably not going to end up playing it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But it has that ever-coveted agility icon.
I was just going to say, too bad it doesn't have a will icon, because then
Right?
it would be a lot more justifiable. But
If it was agility and will, I could see the conversation going differently, yeah.
Space pants.
All right.
I mentioned Space Pants last time we talked about Robes of Endless Night, right? Go watch that skit. It's hilarious. Nick, I think we're to you for Parallel Fates.
Parallel Fates is a level 0 mystic event. It costs 0 resources. Hallelujah. It has a wild icon. It is augury traded, and its game text reads, look at the top 4 cards of the encounter deck. Reveal a random token from the Chaos Bag. If it has a skull, cultist, tablet, elder thing, or autofail symbol, shuffle those cards into the encounter deck. Otherwise, return them to the top of the encounter deck in any order. So it's instant scrying, kind of.
Yeah.
I don't think you run this unless you're doing token filtering, right?
Yep, that's
Yeah.
my thought.
Yep.
Yeah.
The odds that you spend an action and a card and it does nothing for you is
Exactly.
too high for me if you're not hedging your bets somehow.
Not gonna lie, this card is cute. Like,
Yep.
the effect is cute. I don't think, even in a heavy augury deck, I'm probably not gonna play it.
And even, like, yeah, I would agree.
I think the only place I'm looking at this is Gloria. Or,
Sure.
I think I played it once when I was playing with the Jacqueline deck as, with the starter deck
built.
as it's constructed. But then you've got to burn your ability on it and you don't have it for later. Just having that trigger on all the symbols just makes it so dangerously moot.
Yeah. In solo, I can see the potential, just because that's 4 turns of the Mythos phase. That's just like, how to prep for it.
Right.
But in 4-player, like, I don't know.
I mean, if you're so worried about that, then why not just run scrying
Yeah.
and spend the 2 resources in the action? You know what I mean? Like,
What's the Guardian 1 XP card where you look at the top 4 and you can take as many
First
as you
watch.
First watch. Like, First Watch, I feel, is similar to this. But the thing is, First Watch happens. This is like, maybe?
yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah. And the other thing with First Watch is it's fast, which this one doesn't have, which is a huge problem. Like, if this had fast, I might look at it more, but which I think we often say with scrying type effects. But
I mean,
but using an action to this is, and you might get nothing out of it, is
And also, First Watch has the janky way of playing it. If there's only like 1 card left in the encounter deck,
Right.
and there's 4 players, you only draw that 1. Whereas this one, if there's only 2 cards left, you would just scry those ones, and then everyone would still get an encounter card. I don't know.
Yeah, I think it's been a long time since I've said this, and it's a purple card, so it breaks my heart a little bit, but this might be pure Bike Spokes material. Though, I would be interested to see a level 1 Parallel Fates that, like, fixes its issues and is playable.
I think
the
level
effect is
2
cool.
fast would... Well, no.
But even level 2 fast, I'm not looking at this, because
That's true.
if you pull a token, it's nothing.
Well, it's not nothing. It's fast, it's no resources, no actions. Look at the top 4 cards.
Right.
That's not nothing. You know what
Well,
I mean?
and I spent
Like, if
2
it's
XP.
literally not costing you anything other than having the card in your hand.
Well, what I'm saying is if you pull the symbol token, it completely undoes your looking at it, so, like, it's just...
Oh, yeah, never mind. Yeah, no, fuck this card. Let's move on. I
just-
totally forgot that they shuffle in.
Yeah, I'm all down for Mystic cards that offer a downside, but holy cow, when the downside completely negates the upside, it's just a little too much for me.
Yeah.
I wonder if there would be a situation where you play this and the 4 cards are terrible and you're hoping they get shuffled into the encounter deck. Like, nope,
Ancient Evils,
don't want
Ancient
that.
Evils,
Yeah.
Ancient Evils.
let me play Olive to get more tokens out.
All right, in before Nick makes a band joke. Voice of Ra is...
I haven't listened to Raw in, like, I don't know how many years. I'm going to overshoot. 5 years.
You were super into it when you did, though.
I was.
Egyptian new metal for those who are interested. Go check them out. Voice of Ra is a level 0 mystic event. It costs 0. It has a willpower icon. It is spell traded. Gain a resource. Reveal 3 random tokens from the Chaos Bag for each skull, cultist, tablet, elder thing, or tentacle symbol revealed. Gain an additional 2 resources.
So play Premonition. And
Yeah.
then do Dark Prophecy. Get the 5 things stacked on there. Then you would reveal a total of 7 tokens for this.
But again, if you're not running token filtering,
Yeah.
Why
I don't
would
look
you
at
run
this
this?
if you don't have tricks.
just run emergency quiche.
Well, I think most of the time this is probably going to be at least a quiche, and it has a will icon versus quiche has nothing.
Yeah.
But I'm not willing to bank on that.
But it could
Yeah,
also
I
be
don't-
spend a card game.
Says the non-rogue
Yeah.
players.
I think at that point then, because of the gamble, you're looking more at the fact that this is taking up 1 of 30 cards in your deck, or 2 of 30 cards in your deck. And I think quiche, even taking 2 Voice of Ra out and putting 1 quiche in, or hell, even 1 Uncage the Soul in, I think you're better off.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. That said, if you are running Chaos Manipulation, this can get you
Oh, yeah.
bank.
Like
and
Scott
is
just
pretty
said.
damn good.
Yeah.
Yeah, get 8 resources potentially.
And that is how that works, where even if you ignore them, they're still technically revealed.
Well, because
with
Dark
Dark
Prophecy
Prophecy?
is when you reveal them. So you play Premonition first. First you play this. First you play Premonition.
If they're
then you
ignored
play
or
this.
canceled, they're not revealed.
Oh.
Okay.
Yeah. So the only way to do the Dark Prophecy one is like to get all 5 of them as one of these is to do it on Premonition.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
But if you're revealing 3 random chaos tokens, you can replace one of those with Dark Prophecy. Choose one of those 5 as one of the 3 for Voice of Ra.
Sure.
It asks so much for what I could just play an emergency cache or play what's the mystic
Unquiche the Soul.
Unquiche the Soul. Like it just
I don't know, guys.
I
I
think-
think I'm taking this over emergency quiche, actually, but I'm more of a gambler than I think you guys are.
okay, but Unleash the Soul.
I mean, that's obvious.
I just think on average this is probably going to be at least 3 resources more often than not.
You think on average
Yeah.
it's going to be 3? Oh, am I playing on, like, easy?
Here, I've got a Chaos Bag sitting right here.
Oh, we're going to do the same thing we did for that
All right.
crappy rogue ally.
3 Oh, yeah. Henry Juan. I don't want to talk
Juan,
about
yeah.
him. So, okay, 3 tokens. Ooh, 0 Skull Cultist.
Okay, 5 resources.
What? No, 3.
Yep. No, that's 5.
Yeah.
Wait, what? You gained 2 for each?
Yep,
Yes.
Oh, never mind, Ian. You're not as crazy as I thought.
that's good to know.
-1 Skull 0. That's 3.
What kind of tokens are you
And
using? Those are
Rounded. These are orbits.
Oh,
Naked
okay.
orbits. Skull Cultist -2. Okay, all right. This is
This completely scientific.
This empirical evidence.
Yeah, it could totally be published in a scientific journal.
and is less than 5. Just, bear in mind. 0 Elder Sign, and Elder Sign's not on this card. That's
It is
a
not.
tick against it. And Skull. Okay, so that said, I think if you're running Olive, this is a pretty great card because Olive can score you potentially even an extra token since she resolves 2 and looks at 3. Yeah, I mean, I think I'm somewhere between Ian and Scott on this one. I feel like if you have any tricks, this probably will be quiche most of the time, but sometimes it won't be. And as
But
long
that's
as
the
you're
thing,
okay
like-
with that.
Yeah. I didn't realize that you got 2. I'm always looking a card ahead, so when someone's reading, I'm usually pulling the next card and getting ready to copy it. But I agree with Ian in this case. I would rather have Voice of Ra over Emergency Quiche, I think.
But I think Big Kahuna points out maybe what we're feeling on this one is this is kind of an emotional card. The first time you completely whiff on this, you're going to be like, fuck this card, never including it again.
Yeah.
Totally.
Also, it totally is perfect that Ian, the one who plays Rogue, who enjoys the gambling style,
Yeah.
is like,
Yeah.
this one seems great, guys.
But throw it in there.
Yeah.
Entirely on point.
Yeah. So no, I can see. Yeah, I much prefer security over possible of this being like a 5 resource quiche. I don't know.
I mean, I still feel like Uncage the Soul is the go-to econ card in Mystic. Just because it allows you to save your resources for other things, and you're always going to be playing spells. So
And it has 2 willpower icons for those bad times.
And it has 2 willpower icons!
I mean, I think you'll generally be playing spells, but we're getting wider and wider with the card pool, and there probably will come a day where not every Mystic deck is running a giant suite of spells that you want to play, so...
True.
Sure.
How prescient of you, Sean.
Thank you, Scott. I was really hoping someone would pick up on that. Go ahead and read Prescient.
All right, Prescient is a level 0 mystic skill with a willpower icon, practice and augury traded, max 1 committed per skill test. After you commit Prescient to a skill test, name even, odd, or symbol. After this test ends, if a chaos token of the name type was revealed during this test, you may return a spell card from your discard pile to your hand.
Sure.
Ian, what do you think of this gambling stuff?
Maybe it's because Voice of Ra involves resources, but I like this one less than Voice of Ra.
Well, and the fact that
He wants to get paid.
yeah, exactly.
I feel
No,
like this has like a 33% chance, right? Like you have 3 options, and
sure.
they're about equal.
It's 50%. You're either right or wrong.
Yeah, either happens or it doesn't. Yeah.
I think the other thing is you're much more likely to whiff on this one than Voice of Ra, I feel like, and get nothing. Well, I guess you got the will icon. That's something, right? That you committed. But you could have had another card for that. I do like it. Like the ability to actually get spell cards back from your discard pile is something that's not common for Mystics, so I haven't included it in decks, but I just think it needs some support to make sure you're going to get something out of it.
Yes.
I think if you're running Scrying Mirror, you look at this real hard.
Or
Because Scrying Mirror is a guaranteed proc on the
Yes.
ability on this one.
Chaos Fan in the chat also brought up the fact that Bless and Curse tokens are symbols. So if you load the bag, if you're playing one of those decks that just loads the bag in, it might be over 50% chance you draw a symbol. So
Mystic cards tend to lean Bless or Curse. I haven't been really watching them. I know Rogues are mostly Curse. Guardians are mostly Bless.
I think
I think Curse.
Okay.
But
I suppose Price of Power or Promise of Power is...
I think Seeker is mostly Curse too. I thought. Anyways, there's a
side conversation.
yeah.
So let's have it right now. So which one...
Yeah, I mean, this is one where I almost had this in my Iron Man deck, but I think that the combo pieces really have to come together for this to be good. I think as long as you're running some kind of token manipulation, your odds increase an intense amount. Because then you get to decide, okay, what am I looking for? What are the odds? What's the bag look like? And you kind of get to make that calculation as opposed to just shooting from the hip. But if you're running 2 premonitions and a full suite of scrying mirrors, I don't see why you wouldn't take this.
Yeah.
Right.
Like Matastrophic brings up in chat, like the last 3 cards seem like they've been designed assuming you'd be all in on the symbol diving / augury concept, which for this starter deck makes sense.
Yep.
But when you take these outside of that starter deck and start looking at it in the bigger Mystic pool, that's, if you are doing that augury style, maybe these are worth it. If not, then probably not. I don't know. I don't like the luck-based stuff, but
I like the luck-based stuff when you take the luck element out of it.
yes.
All right, Ian, you want to read Eldritch Inspiration, or as the Asari call it, Embrace Eternity?
I do like that. Eldritch Inspiration, a 0-cost level 1 mystic event. 1 will icon and 2 intellect icons. Spell and spirit traits. Fast. Play when you would resolve an effect on a mystic card that triggers when, if, or after a chaos token is revealed. Either cancel that effect or resolve it in additional time. So this is different than the level 0 version, which you play when a bad stuff token is revealed. This is you have to parse the text for when, if, or after a chaos token is revealed.
I mean, basically any chaos token manipulation card. It just broadens it to just about all of them.
Yeah.
This definitely seems a lot more broadly useful, I think.
Totally. And this is +3 to your investigate test if you're running read the signs.
Sure is. Or you get to ignore the effect an additional time.
Well, no.
Read
the,
what do you mean no?
Read the signs.
You commit it.
No,
read the signs combines them.
Yeah, but read this. You can't commit a willpower icon to an intellect test. So read the signs. You're adding your willpower to your intellect, but committing this doesn't add the willpower icon to your willpower.
What?
Interesting.
Really?
I did not know that's how that works.
I thought when you commit a card, you get the icons on the card.
No. You get the icons of that test.
This game sucks.
Literally
this game of
unplayable.
Nick trying to guess what cards.
Okay, but on the same token, but not a bad stuff.
An additional time, though.
Yeah.
As if.
That intellect icon, double intellect is nothing to sneeze at. So I realize this makes the entire card better with just leveling it up and giving it more options, but yeah, for 1 XP, you're getting a better card plus better icons. Yeah. If you're running this style of deck, a grotesque style of deck.
Yes. That said, what are the juicy combos for this one? I guess upgraded Sixth Sense would be a good one, but level 0 Eldritch Inspiration worked on that anyway.
Yeah.
What's the wombo combo here, assuming you can get it all to work?
It's anything that this with the suite of new spells that trigger off of Elder Sign Plus or 0.
Yeah, but that worked on the shriveling too.
What? No,
I mean, are you going to
classic Eldritch Inspiration didn't work on that new suite of spells because those only triggered off of a bad stuff token.
Right.
The new suite of spells trigger off of good tokens.
But I think what Scott's saying is even when we had level 0 Eldritch Inspiration that worked on the old suite of spells, we still didn't include it because you're including a card just to cancel a horror off of shriveling.
Oh, no, I'm not saying it's a good choice. I was just trying to think of what effects do we have that don't trigger off of bad stuff tokens.
Yeah, I don't know.
Yeah, I like that it's broadened, and I think that might make this see more play than original did, but I'm coming up short on what's the reason you're putting this in your deck?
Song of the Dead makes a 5 damage attack.
Yeah.
Thanks, Matt.
Okay. Also, level 0 would have worked for that too.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
That's nothing new. Thanks, but no thanks, Matt.
Yeah. I'm sure I'd be happy if someone could follow up. If you've got the Wombo combo, the Eldritch Inspiration deck, I'd love to hear it, but I'm coming up short here.
Yeah, maybe this is just not future-proofing, but essentially future-proofing.
Sure. Or just laying the seeds for later. I love it when we rediscover old cards that we panned, so I'd be fine with that. Nick, speaking of old cards.
Grotesque Statue is a level 4 record scratch. It's a level 2 mystic asset. Costs 3 resources, has a will and agility icon. Item and relic traded, uses 3 charges. If Grotesque Statue has no charges, discard it. Reaction, when you would reveal a chaos token, spend 1 charge. Reveal 2 chaos tokens instead of 1. Choose one of those tokens to resolve and ignore the other. Takes up a hand slot. I already forget what level 4 does.
So the difference, because I just looked it up because I had to, level 4 has 4 charges and costs 3 instead of 2. So for 2 XP...
No, other way around.
It costs 2. Level 4 costs 2.
Yes.
Yep.
You're getting... Level 4, it gets cheaper by 1 and up a charge.
Yep.
Yeah.
That's okay.
So if you're aiming for level 4, this is a great stepping stone. So you can get 2 Grotesque Statues for 4 and then upgrade them for 4 XP.
I would even argue that you wouldn't necessarily need to go up to level 4 with this bad boy. I mean, it depends on your econ, but you know what I mean?
Yeah, I think this is perfectly serviceable by itself. Daisy can finally take it, so Scott,
Yeah.
JP mentions that with the new taboo, we can now sleight of hand this out. In like Dexter. Yeah.
Ooh, I don't mind that.
Yeah, that's right. You don't exhaust the grotesque statue. You just get rid
But
of it.
if you spend all 3 charges, you discard it.
True.
So you can only use it 2 times
Twice.
if you want it coming back to your hand.
Yeah.
But still,
That's still good.
yeah.
Back in the early days of Diana, I used to like Grotesque Statue because then when you ignore that last token, you suck it under Diana. I actually feel like this is a better play in that regard.
Well, actually, Sean, if you use the 4th charge, you have to... If you use the 4th charge, it discards before you can tuck it under Diana. Sorry.
Womp womp.
But still
Because part of the cost is like you spend the charge, so you do that, and then if Grotesque Statue has no charges on it, discard it. Then you continue on with the effect.
But how does that... That's fine, but how does that... Oh...
Because it's not in play anymore.
But why does that affect Diana's ability, it not being in play? Because I'm pretty sure it's just a card you own, not a card you control.
Let me read Diana.
I'm fairly certain. I'll be sad if I got that wrong, because it's Diana.
I would be surprised if you
You know what?
misread Diana.
Now that I'm thinking of this, I think with the most recent FAQ, where it qualifies what the game can see and not see, I think you might be correct.
Ooh.
A card you
Either
own.
way,
Yeah.
even if you have to do it a charge early, I don't think it's terrible, because again, you're spending less on it. But yeah, cool little card.
Yep.
So then we move on to level 2, Robes of Endless Night. So as we talked about earlier, this is now a level 2 card. 2 cost. It has a willpower and an agility icon. Item clothing traded. Reaction: when you play a spell card, exhaust Robes of Endless Night. Reduce the cost of that card by 1. Now, playing that card does not provoke attacks of opportunity. 2 health and a body slot.
Top
So,
notch.
yep. So
Good all around.
it's amazing how much of a difference moving from 3 cost to 2 cost is. But it is. And the not provoking attacks of opportunity is so clutch because it allows you to not have to play a card until you need it.
Yep.
And as far as tempo goes, that is pretty huge.
You can spend that action doing something else for multiple turns until, now I need my shriveling out to kill this rats or something. Yeah.
I think
I hope you're
especially
using shriveling on rats.
yeah, that's what you should be doing. I think especially in solo, that's huge. When like multiplayer, you have a little bit more maneuvering most of the time to be able to get free of enemies. Another player takes it off you, but in solo, that's in addition to some of the other challenges solo mystics face, like getting an enemy in your face and not being able to play a spell is a bad time, and this helps a lot with that.
Also, this made recurring Alter Fate just sing in TCU. It was my favorite thing to play that for free. It's a spell. It's a spell if you didn't know. All right.
No.
Moving on. Scott, you want to read Hypnotic Gaze?
Sure do. Hypnotic Gaze is a mystic 2-cost event, level 2. Has a combat and 2 agility icons. Spell traded, so you can cheapen it down with the robes. Fast, play when an enemy attacks an investigator at your location. Cancel the attack. Then reveal a random token from the Chaos bag. If it has a OG bad stuff symbol on it, deal damage to the attacking enemy equal to its damage or horror.
So for the extra 2, for the 2 experience, you're getting another icon, and you're getting...
You can do its
choice.
Yes,
Yeah.
horror or damage.
Yeah, and it's cheaper.
I think that's a pretty good get.
And one
yeah,
cheaper.
and it's cheaper. Yeah, I think that's a good get.
That matters, I think, more than anything.
Yeah, the,
well,
3 cost was a barrier for standard Hypnotic Gaze.
yeah, totally.
And then if you're also running token manipulation and can kind of reliably make this hit, it is a very solid little card.
Yeah.
I think because
It's just, do you want to run... I guess it depends on the enemy. I was going to say, do you want to use your token manipulation for this? right? Because
If you're running token manipulation.
but there's a finite amount of token manipulation you have, right? So is this worth
Well, you wouldn't use
that?
this on rats. Yeah, you
Yeah,
use this
yeah.
on 2 damage, 1 horror enemy or something like that. Something big.
Yeah, you use level 0 on rats because it just doesn't.
You wouldn't even use that on rats. You'd take the damage and keep walking.
Yeah.
So I think the dream with this one is to actually use Eldritch Inspiration, though I will point out again that level 0 works just fine for what you need. So the dream here would be to have an enemy with, like, say, 3-4 health engaged with you. It deals, 2 damage, 2 horror, do whatever you can get from it. Take an attack of opportunity, cancel the attack, reveal the token, do 2 damage, and then Eldritch Inspiration to do 2 more, and that's, like, super efficient, because what you actually did was moved, or drew a card, or investigated. But that's a little bit to pull together to make that dream scenario happen. But I honestly see this, if you're playing it, it's more an offensive card than it is a defensive card.
Oh, totally.
I think so, yeah, just because there's other options for the defensive route. But yeah, if you got some big boss that's hitting for 3 and then you Eldritch Inspiration that and you're doing like 6 to it, that's
pretty solid.
Yeah. But yeah, I think it's just one of those cards that requires a little bit of thought. You're not just throwing it in there most of the time.
Right.
Yeah.
It's a real punch to the guts.
Ian.
Okay.
Ignores it completely.
I don't see a card called Punch to the Guts here. Guts, the new version, is a level 2 Mystic skill this time around. 3 will icons, innate developed, max 1 committed per skill test. If this test is successful, draw 1 card. 2 cards instead if it succeeds by 2 or more. We've seen this suite before with the other starter decks, and I don't think anything really changes here.
No, I like this one better than I like Overpower or
Perception.
Or Perception, yeah.
Perception is just like more gas on the already enormous dumpster fire of secret card draw, right? Like,
yeah,
Guts, like in Jacqueline, you're now testing at 8. Chances are you're going to succeed by 2 or more, and that 2 card draw is really good.
It's nice.
Plus, also securing the fact that you can absolutely smash a test you need to.
I do think these are also kind of funny, though, because with the starter decks, the art is really generally cohesive with the investigator. Yeah. But the way that these have worked to go into their respective classes has been a little wonky, because Mark's not obviously a mystic. Silas is not a guardian.
It's a magic shotgun.
Samwise Gamgee is not a survivor.
Is that supposed to be Mark?
That is Mark.
That doesn't look like Mark.
What? That's so
Mark has a totally different hairstyle than that.
Well, he grew it out since getting out of the army.
Just not in his investigator card.
Yeah.
Okay. All right, I'll take it. Got a cut for my good picture.
I'm a little sad that you guys kind of sandbagged my Hobbit joke.
I heard that Samwise Gamgee
I was hoping
thing,
you'd find it funnier than you did.
I laughed on the inside.
That doesn't look like Mark at all.
It's so Mark.
It doesn't look like
I don't know.
I don't know if that's Mark.
Whoa! Okay,
You know what?
all right,
This is
overruled.
This is you seeing Calvin on what was that card? On Your Own?
Yeah.
He doesn't have his
Anyone else remember
signature
that?
coat or gun.
Yeah, that's not Mark. He's not holding the right gun.
He is a man. That
Caucasian male.
is with a weapon.
It might be
All right.
like old Mark art. You never know.
Sure, some of the old
things
art
really got
versions.
cohesive.
Yeah, were,
That's true.
Matastrophic is saying Guts might be Tommy Muldoon.
Is Guts Tommy? Okay, I'd accept that.
Anyway,
A very similar countenance.
it is very 90s, like boy band, like Hanson,
Yeah,
Yeah.
pretty boy soldier. Nick,
Guts. Yes.
moving on to his Your Flame.
Level 3 Mystic spell asset. Costs 3 resources, has a will and a combat icon. Uses 4 charges. Action, spend 1 charge. Fight. This attack uses will instead of combat. You get +2 will and deal +1 damage for this attack. If an Elder Sign +1 token or 0 token is revealed during this attack, you take a damage. Takes up an arcane slot. So you get the will boost.
Mm-hmm. And it probably bears just pushing through to 5 as well and discussing him as an upgrade path.
Sure.
Oh, sure.
You want to read 5 as well?
Yeah, Clairvoyance. Whoops. I went to the next card. Hang on. Azure Flame, level 5. Obviously costs 5 experience. You go up to +3 will and you deal +2 damage, but the downside is you take 2 damage when you reveal an Elder Sign +1 or 0. So,
and you get an extra fight icon.
Oh, yep, sure. So going from 0 to 3, you get the +2 will. Going from 3 to 5, you get +3 will, +1 damage. But you take the higher damage. So I think I really like the 0 to 3 bump, but the 3 to 5 I think it's still good, but I think it's less good.
I hate the level 5 Azure Flame and Shriveling.
You hate it.
Mm-hmm. I think that the double downside, like 2 damage or 2 horror in those spells, I've just seen it go awry so many times that I don't know if it's fully worth it. Though, if you are playing on something like Harder Expert, where there's less +1s and 0s, Azure Flame is less likely to trigger. And if you're playing it in someone like Diana, who has a decent amount of health, like not someone like Luke, then I would consider Azure Flame. But for the most part, yeah, I don't know.
I mean, you could play Eldritch Inspiration as well.
You could, but that's a lot of XP. Yeah. Like, I don't know. I'd rather instead of playing like 2 Azure Flames level 5, I'd rather play 2 Azure Flames level 3 and 2 Shriveling level 3. You know what I mean? Like, move my XP agree. That way.
Well, it's also one of those things that you can you upgrade to 3 and you can kind of hold on that decision. And often I have taken the level 5 Shriveling. I haven't played with level 5 Azure Flame, but like for the last scenario, if you know it's a big boss fight, then sometimes getting that extra damage is important and has been useful. But I will say I'm probably a little more going to be more shy about this upgraded Azure Flame than the upgraded Shriveling because of that, what we talked about, that mystics are lower health generally. And shriveling, the upgraded Shriveling alone already can put pressure on your horror if things go bad. But this could easily be like a knockout punch to your investigator, like a couple bad stuff tokens, or in this case, good stuff tokens, I guess. Right. And you're taking 4 damage, like that could easily just knock out your 5 health mystic. And yeah, Scott,
I'm with you. I think there are some decks that might take them, but it gives me serious pause, and I feel like if you're going to 5 on these, you have to account for it. You have to be doing like
you have to build around it.
You have to be doing or Jessica Hyde, or something. You have to be doing something, because just taking this naked is just really, really vulnerable.
Yeah. And in Jackie, like Jacqueline, what is she? She's 7'7"? No.
She's 6'9".
6'9".
So for her, like Azure Flame, this is a near knockout punch quite early if things go wrong. In this starter deck, she does have a lot of token manipulation, so you can probably, like, that's the plan, is to move around it that way. So I can see it in this deck. But as a group of Mystic cards, I don't know. There's better ways to do an extra damage from 2 to 3. So, like, play Agnes with Shriveling. There you go. Right? I don't know.
Yeah.
So, it is reliable 3 damage. We can't discount that, but still.
Yeah. All right, moving on then to upgraded Clairvoyancies. So level 3 Clairvoyance gives you an extra willpower icon. Still uses 3 charges. You get +2 willpower for the investigation, and you still take a horror if you reveal good stuff. And then very similar, level 5 Clairvoyance gives you all those things, an extra intellect icon, and you take 2 horror if you reveal good stuff.
It gives you +3 willpower for the test.
Yes, thank you. +3 will. So this one I'm not quite as harsh on. Like we talked about, Mystics tend to have more sanity to spend than other things, but I still think that outside of... I think I'm looking at level 4 Rite of Seeking before I'm looking at level 5 Clairvoyance, oddly enough.
Yeah. Yeah.
Because if you're playing in high player accounts where you care enough to get 3 clues in a shot, I think you can more easily maneuver around, okay, I'm just doing this as like my second to last or last action than it is to maneuver around taking 6 horror throughout the game.
Yep.
But, you can. So someone might.
Again, you have to have a plan.
Yeah.
Whatever that plan may be. And that plan might be just, I have 9 sanity.
Yeah.
Right? Like
That's a good plan.
And a little bit of soak on top of that, and maybe a little bit of token manipulation. And know
Or I
when
can
to
see a lot of
use-
tokens.
Yeah.
Let's round out the set, Scott.
All right.
Ineffable Truth.
I'm going to try and talk about these, but it's hard to describe it in words. Ineffable Truth. So, the level 3 version, again, you get +2 willpower for the test. Still the same downside of lose 1 resource. Level 5, you get +3 willpower for the test. You gain an agility icon, and you lose 2 resources if you draw a good stuff token, I guess.
So,
we'll call them.
the good stuff tokens. 0. Whew. So this is just reading the card. It's easier for me to see the leap to level 5 Ineffable Truth than for the previous 2. Because again, losing 2 resources sucks, but it's not going to end your game. You know what I mean? But at the same time, again, I don't think you need to. I think 3 is fine. I think level 0 is fine for Ineffable Truth. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well,
I think
doing 2 damage, though. Sorry, I missed that part on level 5. Is if you succeed, you actually deal 2 damage and evade them instead of dealing
That's
1
nice,
damage.
yeah.
so. It becomes shriveling light with an evade.
Yeah, so
Yeah.
why aren't you just shriveling?
Right.
But-
Right.
Exactly.
But
If you're
you're-
looking at it for the damage, then why aren't you just doing damage?
But it's also evading it and then slowly chipping away at it.
So it's
And
again,
more
so just
quickly
like
now.
level 0, it's only for those enemies that have retaliate and a high combat.
Yeah, you want to evade it, but you also want to eventually destroy it, which
But I think
is pretty
you're
much
right.
bosses or bigger enemies.
And the more I sit on Ineffable Truth and its potential uses at any level, I think there are more and more cards that target exhausted enemies or target enemies at your location that you might only want to play if they're exhausted.
Yeah.
So it's a little combo-y, a little corner case, but I do feel like it might be worth looking at this for, like, say your partner's playing Followed or something like that.
Yeah.
Wow. I'm sorry. That's a big
If
justification.
yeah,
Well, you have Followed in your deck? Sweet. Now I can spend 10 experience on it.
Speaking of corner cases, I guess the other way this is different is since it's an evade attempt, you're going to be using that enemy's evade value to do the damage, which, yeah. I mean, for some bosses that might apply where their evade value is much lower than their combat value.
I'm not saying that Ineffable Truth, like, you should not take it. I'm just saying that level 5, when you read it, you're like, oh, that's actually pretty good. But then I think that the actual, like, I think your experience is better spent elsewhere.
Well, yeah, when you put it in terms of 10 XP, then
yeah.
it better be doing something huge for you.
Yeah.
I mean, if you're rocking Arcane Research and slowly upgrading up through 3, like, you can really take the XP hit off of those. But again, there's
little bit.
probably something else you'd rather be doing that to.
Yeah.
But it's not unplayable. I can justify this one more easily than level 5 Clairvoyance or Azure Flame.
Yeah.
Or Shriveling.
Like, this one is
Yes.
an absolutely fine, like, near the end of the campaign, if you just happen to get so much XP, you're like, oh, geez, I didn't plan for this much. Like, this is an easy upgrade. And with, like you said, Nick, resources aren't going to knock you out of the game, and sometimes, I mean, you might be broke, so you're like, cool, I lose nothing.
Exactly.
Right? Like, the upgrade of Mists, though, as Lord Fatboy points out in chat, gives you 5 charges. You stay at 3 charges for Ineffable Truth the whole way up. Which, yeah, I think I prefer Mists.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, I think I do too.
All right, let's move on then to Arcane Studies, Ian.
Arcane Studies is a level 4 mystic asset, 2 cost, 2 will icons, 2 intellect icons, talent trait. Uses 2 resources. Replenish these resources at the start of each round.
Recurring credits!
Yep. Zappy Boy, free trigger, spend 1 resource from your resource pool or from Arcane Studies. You get +1 will or +1 intellect for this skill test.
Danger swing.
So,
yeah.
so question, and I'm guessing, I'm pretty sure the answer is no, but because this uses resources, does that mean you can spend the resources from this to pay for a card?
No.
No.
Even though it's...
Because they're not, you can't spend them.
Resources?
It's 2 resources, but they're not in your resource pool.
Yeah.
And
right.
it's
Yep,
similar to
I see.
Preston's family inheritance, right?
But that says you can spend them as if they were...
Right. But even
Yeah.
if it didn't, you still couldn't spend them.
right. Yep,
It,
I
it
got
has
you.
to clarify. Yeah.
Yep.
So.
Damn. Level
So-
5 Arcane Studies now.
I have this in my Gloria deck right now, and I'm a pretty big fan of it. It is an ask for XP.
Yeah.
But the flexibility to increase one of 2 stats.
Very
it
important
gives you
stats.
Very important stats. It gives you 2 for free each turn, and then if you need it, you can push beyond that. And it's slotless.
Yes.
It's very, very good. I quite like this card.
And in a super pinch, worst case Ontario, the icons are perfect. Like they're
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Or you draw your second copy. Like,
Yeah.
I mean, por qué no los dos?
you would actually play your second copy sometimes.
Yes,
Yes.
you would.
Why wouldn't
Damn.
you? That's
Yeah,
why would you?
all right. I take
This
it back.
is this is great.
Yeah.
I think the XP is perfect. I think 4 experience for one of them is great because you're getting 2 free uses every turn.
Yeah.
It's paying for itself on your first turn. Like I love it. I love it.
I think I think we can't downplay though the fact that it is 4 XP, and for 2 of them that's 8 XP,
Yeah.
which is a lot of experience.
Yeah.
That's like a scenario and a half.
Yeah, but some of these like
A good scenario and a half, I
Yeah.
should say.
some of these though like pretty much guarantee you're gonna rock out all the experience in future scenarios because you'll be nigh unstoppable. This whole suite of talents, I mean, especially
Yeah.
depending
yeah,
on how
like-
you build and stuff. Yeah.
I do love how we've come full circle on these, because when the core set came out, it was like, oh, these are cool. And then you actually played them, you're like, I can't pay for anything if I play these, so these are terrible. And then we got the level 2 version where it's like, okay, they're cheaper now. I can maybe justify it. Now we're finally there where it's like, okay, as long as I can spend the XP, this is a really good card.
Yeah.
I think I especially like these in the ones that are the Mystic Investigators that are kind of lean a little bit on both will and intellect, like your Glorias and your Lukes. For some of the ones that are just hard willpower, like this would still be useful, but then maybe I'm looking to spend my
Yeah.
XP on stuff that's really just honing in on either boosting or kind of utilizing that willpower.
So if you're looking at someone that is kind of leaning hard willpower, do you think that this looks better over like a Rosary or something? Or do you think you prefer the no XP, throw it down, get just the static +1?
Probably just the static boost, I think.
I don't pretend to have the answer. I just wanted to ask the question. All right. Let's move it on then to Recharge. I think we're on Ian.
I just went.
You just went. Then we're on me. Level 4 Recharge is a Mystic event. It costs 0. It has triple willpower icons.
Wee.
It is spell traded. Choose a spell or relic asset controlled by an investigator at your location and reveal a random chaos token from the chaos bag. If you reveal a bad stuff symbol, add 1 charge to the chosen asset. Otherwise, add 4 to the chosen asset.
I'm surprised they use a chalice in the art instead of Luke's gate box. Gate box?
We just talked about Arcane Studies, which we said, 4 XP is a big ask, but Arcane Studies is totally worth it under most circumstances. This one I don't... See, I don't think this is worth 4 experience.
Have you
I
played
think-
Luke with gate
Yeah,
box?
and I think
I
that
don't-
I think that illustrates where it's good. Is you have to have a specific spell that you want to have in play and keep using.
Yeah.
Versus the normal Mystic play where you just kind of have a suite and you swap in and out as you draw them and expend them.
But one action, add a token, add one?
No, otherwise add 4.
Otherwise, yeah.
Yeah.
But what if you pull one of those?
Yeah, but the one before was you discard it. I think. Okay, let me reframe this for you, Nick. Gatebox itself is worth 4 XP, but you get it for free. And this, this is adding more charges.
Luke is my favorite Mystic, so you're in the right camp. But I do agree that this is obviously better than discarding it. Obviously, you would never use OG recharge on Gatebox.
Unless it's empty, maybe.
No, even then, because his Elder Sign refills it. So if you pull the Elder Sign on anything, you can put one on it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So with this, I just don't. It's not I don't feel it. I feel like if it were put 2 on a bad stuff token or 4 on a normal, then I would.
Bad stuff
for
token
4 XP.
With a bad stuff token, if you add 1, you can just Eldritch Inspiration to add 2 instead.
There it is.
Right. Okay. So at
and
10
level 0
experience,
at that,
we're
baby.
good.
Level
Never
0.
mind.
Level 0.
I
Nick.
love it.
Level 0.
Oh, sure.
Adding more to the pile of what do we upgrade Eldritch Experience for?
I've been really struggling to fill up my 30-card Luke deck, so those last 2 Eldritch Inspirations will be perfect. Thank you.
I mean, I think
I'm also running the 60-card Luke deck. Yeah.
I think outside of Gatebox, obviously the Gatebox is gonna give you value out of these. But yeah, I think outside of that, I'm questioning the 4 XP similarly to Nick.
Just a little bit.
Well, I think one of the reasons too is because I looked at recharge a lot more in the earlier days when there weren't as many spell options, and you would run out of your shriveling charges and be screwed on your attack options. But now, that hardly ever happens because you have your Azure Flames and other options, so you just keep drawing into those. So recharge lost some of its value in that way. So yeah, I think this is meant for very specific cards like Gatebox and some other cards that I'm not thinking of right now.
And Gatebox, yeah.
Yeah, Gatebox and Gatebox.
I mean, or if you've bothered to go 5 XP on one of the other spells, I think if you've bothered to do that, this is kind of another copy of your big spell. So
sure.
I don't think those decks are very common right now because I just don't think there's any really juicy big spell that everyone looks at and goes, "Oh my god, I must play this."
Yeah.
But when we get that, then suddenly recharge looks a lot better.
Yeah. Oh, Seal of Seven Sign. Reaverman says.
Yeah, maybe.
I mean, sure, another 4 turns on that. But again, I still think that this. I don't think it requires it. But I think this is a soft require of running token filtering.
Yes.
Because this without any token filtering is
if you're
that's
spending
lame as hell.
If you're spending 8 XP on 2 copies, you better be running token filtering.
Exactly. And that's why the 4 XP feels a little high to me.
I don't think you ever buy more than one of these because this to
I
me
would
is
agree.
a mid to late game. I'll quiet you. I think that to me, when this looks good, it is a mid to late game card. You don't want to see this early because then it's 4 experience for 3 icons.
And can I be really clear in my love of this is that I like this in Luke and Luke only. This this card is named Recharge Gatebox in my mind. I don't think I'd pay, Nick, like you said, I don't think I'd pay 4 XP for this in pretty much any other. Right.
It's a Gatebox battery.
It is, honestly. That's what it is. And I will gladly pay 4 XP for a chance of getting 4 more Gatebox charges because that is obtuse. But
the Gatebox just has a cup-shaped hole in it where you put the cup in.
I think if we got an investigator that used charges for something other than what's listed on the spell, which seems like a weird thing to do, but I think if we had a build that did that, I could see this totally.
Okay, Eldritch Sophist that you versatile into a Kachi.
Wait. What's the first card you said?
Eldritch Sophist. The
brand new.
4-cost Seeker ally that we previewed. Did we preview it, or was it Drawn to the Flame got it?
No, we didn't preview that one.
Okay, it was Drawn to the Flame. Read the Signs or whatever that podcast is
Forgetting which podcast you're on.
Eldritch Inspirationist.
called. Yeah. Eldritch Sophist.
Eldritch Sophist. I'm reading it right now.
can
It's a seeker.
Yeah, you can exhaust him to move charges around.
Mm-hmm. I remember
anyway.
this guy. Okay. Nah. No. Too much.
I know.
Too much.
I'm joking.
Oh yeah. All right.
Okay.
But no, I mean, if that archetype came out where it was your charges now do something else, and you have to be okay spending that charge off of shriveling to, I don't know, get a clue or something.
Oh, what's the Mystic's skill card where you can spend a charge off a spell asset to gain willpower?
Oh, I forget the name of it, but I can see it in my mind.
Surge
as
of
the guy,
Power.
like, turning over his back. Yeah, yep.
Yeah, no, that's not it, but it's something like that.
I'll try
I
and
should
find
know
it,
this.
but
I actually played it in Akachi once, and it was pretty good.
Yeah, and Akachi, it's great.
Right. All right.
Annie,
So
Torrent of
that
Power. Torrent of Power.
Torrent. Thank you.
He's
Torrent.
a willpower and a wild icon.
And a lot of porn.
Anyways,
All right. So that's the last of the Jackie cards, guys. Let's talk general thoughts about Jackie and the cards they're in.
a really fun idea for a deck.
Yeah,
Like,
I think as a constructed deck, I think it works pretty well. But I think once you start to dismantle it, some of those pieces lose their value.
Yeah. Unless you move
Some
those
of them.
pieces to
Some
another
of them.
augury deck, but
Totally,
Yeah.
no, totally.
I think this deck and the cards in it did more for its faction and the general card pool than any of the other starter decks, except
Yes.
maybe Stella competes.
I was
going
going
to
to say Survivor was a pretty strong get too, but I would agree with that assessment.
But see, like, Survivor already had a lot of tools for, like, kind of everything. It was weird tools, but, like, this one just, for people who want to buy one core set and have one shriveling, Azure Flame now exists.
Yep. It's like
you get
introduce
two
a whole
copies.
second suite of all the spells. Robes of Endless Night is kind of a big card for Mystic now.
One of the big places I can point to is just the Patrice deck that I just played through TCU. Like I was using robes. The fact that I was able to play Shriveling and Azure Flame, I only took level 0s, but like still, as enemy management, the ability to just like actually have more than one quote unquote weapon in your deck in Mystic,
that's true.
It's so big.
And I think, too, like, Jacqueline alone, if you take out all the token filtering stuff, like, if any of these are worth, like, half her deck or about 2/3-ish, right? Like, if you're not counting Clairvoyance and Effable Truth, like, you're just playing those without the filtering. Same thing even with the Crystal Pendulum, right? Just name one and just go to town. You don't necessarily need the filtering. You're left with a really, really good base of a Mystic deck.
Yeah.
That is just super strong. A new player can pick it up, do Mystic things, and their ability to take out some of that augury if they want and just slide in wards of protections, denies, like other Mystic things. Like, the backbone of this deck is super, super strong.
It's nice that there was only really one card in this entire deck that we were like, this one has no place in the current card pool, and that was Parallel Truths or whatever it was called, Parallel Fates.
And again,
whereas like, and it was also obvious that even though all those cards in that deck, or most of them, were like, hey, run token filtering with this, it wasn't as obvious that it wasn't like Rogue with Habamok, where they were pretty much like, if you're not running Chuck, this card's not good. There were like 3 or 4 in the Habamok deck that were like that, which were kind of annoying. It was kind of nice to see then us only get one in this deck that was like, don't run it.
Yeah, Parallel Fates is the only one I'm like, if Parallel Fates had been like Premonition, this deck
Oh god, this deck would have been amazing.
might have been the best starter. I think she's still up there for like just a solid deck. Like, she's
Like, buy it off the rack and play it.
yeah,
She's good. I have found her to be a little bit resource deficient.
But Voice of Ra.
Well, if you can get Voice of Ra early and get it to fire, then yes,
Yeah.
it's far better. But especially at level 0, again with Robes of Endless Night being a far less value, smaller value proposition.
Yeah.
I find she kind of struggles to get her kit out, and in a lot of games, never really gets it all out. She's very, very hungry for resources.
Yeah, I think it's a very, on the stronger side of the starter decks. I mentioned Jacqueline's a lot of fun to play, and the nice thing is her ability is, like, you can build around it, but if you just didn't include any token stuff and just used her ability, it'd still be fine. Like, that ability is great. I think the one thing I'll say is if this was a starter deck for a true newbie to the game, though, it might it might be a little bit difficult to pilot just to help them understand what the hell is going on with all this token stuff.
It might take a bit of coaching. Like you don't want two newbies to grab this and a Stella deck and sit down
no.
together just with themselves, right? Like this is something like you bring your friend over and they're like, oh, I'm interested in, I don't know, like spells and magic
I love
stuff.
caster chicks.
Right? Like, yeah, Sean comes in as a newbie and you're like, cool, play this deck, and you kind of help them like, okay, so here's how chaos, how the chaos bag works, here's how taking tests works. Now you can see how powerful this is and kind of help them through their first couple plays. Then they be off to the races. So yeah, I think there is that little bit of a roadblock. But it's such a minor roadblock, I think.
Yeah, I think she's got one of the higher skill floors.
That is an interesting roadblock to have, though, for a starter deck. Like, a product that is explicitly for the new player.
But I think they also aimed it at a new, like, someone who's just coming to the table with another person, right? Like, they don't want to buy into Arkham. They want to buy a single pack.
It's not a criticism. It's just an observation.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, all of the starter investigators actually aren't very, like, bog standard vanilla. Like, with the exception of Harvey. Harvey is like the one that you give to a brand new player. And even then there's
draw cards traded.
Yeah, even then there's some weird stuff with like building up your hand, which may take a little bit. But all of it, even Nathaniel, like, yeah, he just straight up damages people, but he does it through a way that no other Guardians do, like just playing a bunch of... I guess that's not too tricky, like a player could get it. But I guess what I'm saying is, normally you would expect a starter decks to just be all very kind of straightforward. But, we have MJ, who's not a straightforward designer, thankfully. And I, for one, am glad that route wasn't taken, because I would have been very bored. I'm glad we have this. And yeah, I mean, maybe at the end of the day, like Scott said, like, it's easy to think about this as being very hard, but with a little bit of coaching, I'm sure most players could probably pick up on this stuff.
Yeah, totally glad that we got these new investigators and not like pre-packaged constructed decks for like the core set investigators. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So
yeah. I will say too, like on that whole the difficulty of this new player thing, I think that this one and the Stella one, I think this one the most requires the highest level of rules and timing knowledge.
For sure.
Right? Like that's the one trip up, especially when you start adding in other stuff like premonition, right? And dark prophecy. And yeah, like it just, there's a lot of stuff, which I think it needs the most coaching, but once they get it, I think it's easy to do. So
And all of this is moot anyway, because FFG didn't print enough for newbies to have these on the shelves to begin with. So.
All the veterans scooped up.
Yeah.
And we were all waiting.
Yeah.
So, like, selfishly, I'm super okay with it.
Yeah.
But yeah, they appear to be a little hard to find from what I hear.
Yeah. I mean, there's no real gaming spaces open right now, so we can forget
That's
them.
also true.
But not a lot of pickup games going on.
Yeah. All right, boys, let's round it out into some tentacle time. Ian, what's been grabbing you?
Well, same old story. Still trying to recover from this move and unpack stuff. So not a ton. Last time I talked about Star Trek Discovery. So I think the only other thing has been watching this season of Mandalorian with my son.
Aw, yeah.
Like season 1, he wasn't quite on the watching train, so I just watched it all by myself. But now it's like I basically wait to watch it with him. And
nice.
He loves it. Like, and I love it. It's been, I'm really enjoying this season. And I know, as Star Wars fans do, they have a lot of nitpicks along the way, but for my money, it's like, yeah, surprising, I know. I know usually they're a level-headed
They're a
bunch
united front
that
always.
agree on everything. But yeah, I'm enjoying it, and I still enjoy it for the same reasons I did the first time around. It's space western, space samurai movie with cool music and visuals, and our old friend Tom works on it, and yeah, it definitely was a show that came out at the right time when myself and a lot of people were kind of like, I don't know where Star Wars is going, and I'm not that excited about it anymore. And I think it came out at a good time to rekindle that excitement for sure.
How many episodes are out now?
I want to say 4 or 5 of this season. I can't remember.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. I wait to watch it till they're all out, just so then we can watch 2 or 3 a night and not have to worry about waiting.
Sure.
But
Yeah, the one thing I'll say about waiting to watch it with my son is that pretty much I'm extremely vulnerable to spoilers, and
Yeah.
man, spoiler
off the
culture
internet,
on
man.
social media has gotten worse and worse and worse, and like
People are just jerks about it.
people spoil it like mere minutes after it aired. Like minutes.
Wow.
Like I feel like there used to be a little bit of chill of like, let's all wait a day until we talk about it. There's no chill anymore. It's just like immediate. Just let's post pictures of the screen caps of the episode and headlines.
gotta
and
get
just,
those hot memes.
yeah,
man, those dank
it
memes.
is just instant. Like if you did not watch it and you don't want to be spoiled, like you literally just have to just not touch your phone and not look at anything.
Yeah, I'll tell you what, man. I know I'm going to sound like an old man when I say this, but like delayed gratification is such a valuable skill in today's world.
Mm-hmm.
Anyway, Nick, how about you?
I'm going to sound like a broken record for probably the foreseeable future. But Rime of the Frost Maiden, if you're not watching...
What rhymes with it?
What rhymes with it? Lost Raiden. If you're not watching our...
Glosshaven.
Okay, all right, that's 2 examples is enough. If you're not watching our Tuesday night stream,
Gloomhaven.
then you should... Then please...
Food maven.
Oh my god, guys. Okay, let it be... I know that I take long for technical time, but let it be known
Blue Raven.
that... All right. Swing on over to twitch.tv/Nicholas Corey to watch our Rime of the Frost Maiden episodes every Tuesday night, of which Ian is featured alongside friend of the show Dave, friend of the show Casey, the lead designer or developer, or whatever the title is for Arkham Horror, MJ.
I think both apply.
Yep, sure. Lead design developer. And then also friend of the show, friend of the show Delarp Guy Josh, and friend of the show Osiluth Justin. Those are my 6 players. It's super, super fun. I would say that we're between a third and halfway through. Well, we're closer to a third than halfway through, but we're making progress. And it's every Tuesday night at 7 p.m. Central at twitch.tv/Nicholas Corey. If you can't catch us live, you can always swing over to YouTube, to my YouTube channel, Nick Corey on YouTube, and you can find all of the past videos. I have full sessions, and I have individual encounters. I've gone through and split the videos into like between 15-minute and 45-minute encounter videos as well. So you miss some of the roleplay stuff, but you still get the action. Swing by, watch that, participate in chat if you're on live, and comment on the YouTube videos and like and all that fun stuff.
Like, comment, subscribe.
Yeah, I mean, if you want to subscribe, that'd be great. But no, that's been on my mind a lot because it's a weekly thing now, and I'm also running it for another group bi-weekly, so I think about Rime of the Frost Maiden a lot. So come and enjoy the fruits of our labors.
As a viewer, I've enjoyed it very much.
Awesome.
I'm halfway through session 1.
Yay! Well, I mean, technically session 2. The session 1, we
Right,
had
with the
tech
recap.
difficulties.
Rime of the Frost Maiden is just a really interesting story, too. So, like, you have a very interesting premise to build on and put the Nick spin on it. I enjoy the Nick spin.
I am excited for the campaign. Oh, this sounds weird. I'm excited for the campaign to end so that we can have like a post-mortem stream where we all sit down and talk, and I can be like, oh yeah, this part, that was me. This part, that was in the book. That part, that was me. You know what I mean? Like that sort of stuff. Because I think there's more. This particular campaign requires more DM fuckery than your average Wizards of the Coast campaign. So.
Excellent. Scott, how about you?
Okay, so obviously I've been preparing to sell my house and then sold my house. And now we have to go find houses. So my gaming and other free time has been limited of such. But I have been still continuing with my chess and learning, studying chess and doing lessons and stuff. So if you want to play chess, hit me up. Just, I don't know, message me somewhere. And we can play chess. Speaking of chess and shows I've watched, Queen's Gambit on Netflix.
Ooh,
so good, and it's a really good drama. Even if you care nothing about chess, because the show, like the premise is an orphan who learns how to play chess and gets really good. But the fact that it's chess doesn't. It could have been poker. You know what I mean? Like that's not integral to it. Huge, but if you are also a chess fan, like a few of the games they play, or all the games they play that you watch played, they have taken like from historical chess games.
Oh, sure.
And especially ones that are very famous, and like some of the first chess games you'll study as a chess player who starts to study things, just for like, here's something that, you know, these grandmasters played that is very important to chess. But you can completely ignore that if you don't like chess. But it's also cool to see, like, oh, hey, and I recognize a couple games. Because I'm like, I recognize that exact board state because that is one that I've studied. So that's really cool. And the fourth season of The Crown is out, which is following the story of Queen Elizabeth, which I love. So,
We're just all up on the royals this week.
yeah.
It's got a thing for queens.
You know what? I have a thing for British aristocracy. I don't know why I love watching shows.
Don't we all, though?
Like Downton Abbey. Oh my god. So good. Yeah.
Excellent. So then I suppose for my part, I had fired up the second South Park game. Because I got it when it first came out, but I got interrupted by something, and I can't even remember what it was, but I ended up putting it down because my wife and I had been playing through we played through the first one together, and then we got distracted, and then it was like, I don't want to pick this up if she's not watching. But eventually I forewent all of that, picked it back up. Did I ever tell you guys a story about my revelation with the title?
No.
Oh, really?
It took you a while?
Oh, guys. Embarrassingly so. So let me be vulnerable with you for a moment here. So I tend not to follow too much of the hype of a game, leading up to it, but I really enjoyed the Stick of Truth. So when the Fractured But Whole came out or was announced, I was like, okay, this is gonna be really cool. Oh yeah, but here's the thing. I never talked about it with anyone. I only ever saw it in writing, and when you look at it in writing in context of the idea that, okay, it's superheroes, it's Civil War, the word or the title makes just complete sense, and I never had any reason to think about any innuendo. So then at a certain point, my sister and her boyfriend came over, and we were just kind of talking about stuff, and it was about to come out, and I was like, oh yeah, I can't wait to get Fractured But Whole. And I just shatter pause for a minute, and I was like, Oh, okay. And yeah, but anyway, it's really fun. I think doing a comedy video game is a very hard thing, and very few video games actually keep the laughs rolling through to the end. But I think the South Park guys, they do a great job at writing it, and there's just so many meta jokes, and like if you're a fan of the show, obviously you've got all the references there. Also, I just did another in a long line of games that just take a hard left turn into Lovecraft. This is among them now, and I finally got to that part, so that was really fun. But anyway, if you're a South Park fan, Fractured But Whole is actually a really fun little light tactics RPG with lots of fart jokes. So quite fun.
Wait, it's a tactics game?
Uh-huh.
There's a grid and you move everybody around?
Uh-huh. Yep. And
Wow.
a lot of the moves are based on actually kind of moving your characters and knocking back opponents and
As crass as those two games are, like the Stick of Truth and the Fractured Butthole, they're really good games.
Yeah.
Like, they're just really fun. And then if you are someone who enjoys South Park style humor, it's just lots and lots of icing on the cake.
Yeah.
Or what you think is icing, at least.
I mean, I thought Stick of Truth looked fine, but it was just classic JRPG, so I was like, whatever. But another tactics game, I like South Park stuff, so I might actually check that one out.
I would recommend. It's light tactics, but it's definitely there. And like at this point, the game's like 3 years old or something like that, so you can get it on Switch, you can get it on PS4. Like, anyway, so I think that's gonna wrap us up for episode 95 of Mythos Busters. We'll see you guys for 96.
Bye.
Bye.